Phoenix Knights. Chapter 156. Hundreds of years ago, a powerful superpower rose in the hands of a legendary figure. In just a few decades, it swept through the entire continent. At the height of its glory, it had almost swept across the continent and unified the world. The 10 most powerful sects on the continent had to join forces to resist it. That era belonged to the Scarlet Moon demonic religion, a legendary figure who could cover the sky with one hand, the Scarlet Moon Patriarch. Even though the Scarlet Moon religion's patriarch was the leader of the evil sect, the miracles he had created and the heaven and earth almighty cultivators of that era both respected and feared him. In later generations, there were still many people who worshipped and admired that generation's Supreme Devil sect. Some fanatical fans described him as unprecedented and unsurpassable. Perhaps this was a bit of an exaggeration, but the Scarlet Moon religion's patriarch's achievement that shocked the past and present was unparalleled in the past 10,000 years. This was widely acknowledged. Especially in the hearts of some evil cultivators, the Scarlet Moon sect master's position was no different from that of a god. Of course, the birth of any peerless expert wasn't something that could be achieved just by relying on natural endowments. What was most important was still opportunities. The Scarlet Moon Patriarch did not have the legendary heaven and earth spiritual body. In fact, according to some inaccurate records, his talent was only at the middle spiritual body level. His achievements came from a fortuitous encounter in his youth. That was the Chi-Yu inheritance. The Scarlet Moon inheritance allowed the Scarlet Moon Patriarch to change his fate and take the most meaningful step in his life. This was an important foundation for him to create the Scarlet Moon demonic religion. The Scarlet Moon inheritance was ranked third among the 4 great inheritances of the continent. Very few people in the world knew about its secrets, and the only person who had truly obtained it was the Scarlet Moon religion master. It was rumored that before the demonic religion was destroyed, the Scarlet Moon religion master recorded the secret of the Scarlet Moon inheritance on a map, calling it the Scarlet Moon Map. Only by obtaining this map and deciphering the secrets on it would one be able to enter the Scarlet Moon inheritance, one of the 4 great inheritances. However, the Scarlet Moon religion's patriarch had purposely split the Scarlet Moon religion's map into 108 pieces and scattered them across the continent. On the continent, there were many people who had obtained fragments of the Scarlet Moon map, including some handwritten copies, replicas, etc. Up until now, no one had been able to piece together the 108 map fragments that were scattered across the continent. That was because only 70 to 80 pieces of the map had actually appeared in the world. There were still several dozen pieces that had yet to appear in the world. The Scarlet Moon map was filled with profound mysteries. Even one incomplete map piece would not be enough to open the Scarlet Moon inheritance, not to mention dozens of incomplete maps. Over the past hundreds of years, people's interest and passion for it had been far less than it had been in the beginning. Of course, if there was a genuine Scarlet Moon map fragment, it would still have a very high collection value. Judging from the aura of the Scarlet Moon incomplete map, it should be the real deal. Just this genuine Scarlet Moon incomplete map was worth far more than the spiritual rank divine weapon. Knowing the true value of the map fragment, Xiao Feng was also very surprised, but he did not regret it. Firstly, a single map fragment was not very meaningful. Secondly, although the value of the map fragment was high, Xiao Feng was just a low-level disciple of the sect. It would be difficult for him to make use of it, and it would only attract the calamity of death. The second reason was similar to the reason Xiao Feng gave up on the spirit-grade divine weapon. Xiao Feng, the 2 items you've offered are both rare treasures. The sect will definitely reward you handsomely. If you have any requests or wishes, you can state them all. The first elder was all smiles. As soon as he said that, all the disciples present revealed extremely envious expressions. This time, Zhao Feng's contribution was too great. In a small sect, spirit-grade divine weapons were usually the treasures of the sect and had a certain amount of deterrence. And the genuine Scarlet Moon incomplete map fragment was worth much more than an ordinary spirit-grade divine weapon. Puzzled, Elder Shui said, "In principle, The spoils of war that a team obtains during a mission belong to the individual. Zhao Feng, why didn't you keep it for yourself and instead gave it to the sect? A spirit-grade divine weapon isn't something that I can control. As for this map fragment, I didn't know its origin before. I think that these two items might be more useful to the sect. Zhao Feng replied. Hearing this, Elder Shui and the first elder nodded their heads in praise. The two exchanged glances. This Zhao Feng knows his limits and he can control his greed. If it was a normal disciple who obtained a spirit-grade divine weapon, they wouldn't be able to control their greed and would be killed. Furthermore, the credit for the spoils of war doesn't belong to me alone. Everyone in the team has a share of the credit. Zhao Feng continued. Hearing this, Lin Fan and the others revealed looks of gratitude. Everyone knew that the main credit belonged to Zhao Feng, and this was also the reason why he gave out the two items. On the other side, Quan Chen's face had turned green and his eyes were bloodshot. He was about to explode from anger. Zhao Feng had done so much, and this was a great fortune that even core disciples would be jealous of him. Haiyun Master's gaze occasionally glanced at Zhao Feng, and the coldness in his eyes disappeared. Zhao Feng was impeccable in terms of strength, potential, intelligence, and even his way of dealing with people. Now, everyone knew that Zhao Feng had done such a great deed. If the upper echelons of the sect didn't reward him, it would be a laughing stock. Otherwise, who would be willing to give it to the sect in the future when other disciples found it? Zhao Feng, we have decided to reward you with 200 low-grade primal crystal stones and 50,000 contribution points. Each member of your group will be rewarded with 50 low-grade primal crystal stones and 8,000 contribution points. Furthermore, due to your contribution, the sect will grant you a wish. The first elder announced with a smile. After the announcement, the crowd went into an uproar. 200 low-grade primal crystal stones is equivalent to 20,000 substandard primal crystal stones. I won't be able to get so many primal crystal stones in my entire life. Some disciples were filled with jealousy. 20,000 substandard primal crystal stones. This number even caused the true inheritor's eyes to turn red. Even some of the attendants and vice hall masters were envious. The monthly salary of core disciples was only 100 substandard primal crystal stones, which was equivalent to 1 low-grade primal crystal stone. Their real income came from their elders or from missions. Furthermore, 50,000 contribution points was also a huge amount of wealth. One had to know that entering the hollow building once only cost 5,000 contribution points. 3,000 points could buy a low-grade mortal weapon at half price. With these primal crystal stones and contribution points, Zhao Feng and the rest could increase their strength. The three of them revealed expressions of excitement. They were just basking in Zhao Feng's glory and were overjoyed to have such a reward. When the first elder saw the expressions on the faces of the others, a smile appeared on his face. In reality, compared to the spiritual weapon and the Scarlet Moon map fragment, these rewards were nothing. Actually, it wasn't that the first elder didn't consider giving them more rewards, but that would only have the opposite effect. A huge amount of wealth would only bring trouble to Zhao Feng and the rest. Therefore, the contribution points for the four far exceeded the primal crystal stones. 200 low-grade primal crystal stones and 50,000 contribution points are enough for a normal disciple to live in the sect for tens of years. Zhao Feng was satisfied. Of course, Zhao Feng's biggest reward was the wish. Within a reasonable range, Zhao Feng could make a request, and as long as it wasn't too much, the sect would agree. What should he make this wish? Zhao Feng soon had two ideas. The first was to get his hands on the 9 transformation golden wall technique. According to what he heard, this was a peak-grade mortal body tempering technique, and even core disciples didn't have the right to come into contact with it. Second, become the disciple of an elder or even the sect leader. He believed that with Zhao Feng's contributions, one of these two requests would be within the acceptable range of the sect. Zhao Feng, have you thought about it? Of course, you don't have to rush. You can think about it when you get back and bring it up to the sect, the first elder said with a smile. I've thought about it. A hint of determination appeared in Zhao Feng's eyes. He quickly made up his mind. Oh? Tell me about it. The three elders all looked towards Zhao Feng. Zhao Feng, don't go overboard with your request. Hai Yun Master purposely gave Zhao Feng some pressure. At this point in time, Hai Yun Master could feel Zhao Feng's potential. If it was someone else, it wouldn't be a problem, but this person was Lord Guanjuan's disciple, and this wasn't something he wanted to see. Disciple doesn't have anyone to teach me, so I hope that first elder can be my master. Zhao Feng's voice was firm. Master? The three elders all paused. Hai Yun Master was the first to react as he said coldly, Zhao Feng, first elder's status is high, why would he casually take in a disciple? Even a high-grade spiritual body doesn't have the right to be first elder's disciple. As soon as he said this, a faint pressure of true spirit realm was transmitted to Zhao Feng's body. What he meant was that even a high-grade spiritual body didn't have the right to be first elder's disciple, not to mention a low-grade spiritual body. Zhao Feng's body went cold and his blood seemed to freeze. It was as if the person standing in front of him was a giant. Those who had reached the true spirit realm weren't normal humans. Compared to normal humans, it was like comparing a giant to an ant. At this point in time, First Elder and Elder Shui surprisingly didn't say anything. Zhao Feng was puzzled. What's wrong? Logically speaking, with the contributions he had made, it shouldn't be too much for him to ask the First Elder to be his master. The reason why he became First Elder's disciple was because of the plan he had discussed with Lord Guanjuan. After entering the clan and becoming an inner disciple, he would need to find an elder to rely on in order to reduce the threat from Hai Yun Master. At this moment, everyone fell into a short silence. First Elder didn't say anything. Talent isn't everything, otherwise the clan wouldn't give extra rewards to the top outer disciple. If First Elder is willing to take me in as a disciple, I won't regret it in the future. Zhao Feng was as calm as ever, and his words exuded immense confidence. He had an ancient bloodline, which was stronger than any supreme-grade spiritual body. If even the Blood Corpse Branch Protector was shocked by his bloodline, then it was easy to imagine. Zhao Feng. First Elder won't take you in as a disciple. If you don't mind, you can become my disciple. The gold-robed elder laughed lightly and broke the heavy atmosphere. Zhao Feng couldn't help but be surprised, and he didn't know what was going on. Maybe First Elder had something he couldn't say. But as long as he could become the disciple of any elder, his goal would be achieved, and he didn't have to become First Elder's disciple. Zhao Feng, your potential isn't bad. I'm willing to take you in as a disciple. Hai Yun Master smiled brightly as he suddenly said, Ah! This scene not only shocked Zhao Feng, Quan Qin and Yuan Ji who were behind him also had their mouths wide open. Chapter 157. At this point in time, there were two elders who wanted to take Zhao Feng as a disciple. But Zhao Feng chose First Elder. First Elder stood on the spot and didn't say anything. Zhao Feng didn't know what was going on, and Hai Yun Master's sudden appearance caught him off guard. If it was just Elder Shui taking him as a disciple, then it wouldn't be a big deal. But now there was Hai Yun Master. Hai Yun Master's eyes were deep and he had a bright smile on his face. Zhao Feng's heart skipped a beat, and he understood after thinking about it. Hai Yun Master did this to give him a chance to surrender, just like Bei Moi, to become his disciple. Just like that, he once again crushed Lord Guanjuan to the ground without any effort. If Master Su Ran knew about this, he would probably spit out blood. At the same time, this was also a forceful method to force Zhao Feng to make a choice. If Zhao Feng chose Elder Shui, then there would be no turning back and they would be enemies in the future. Hai Yun Master would try his best to suppress him and get rid of him. Haha, brother Hai Yun, you're interested in Zhao Feng? If you're willing, I can give him to you. Elder Shui was taken aback for a moment before bursting into laughter. Zhao Feng cursed in his heart. The situation was becoming more and more disadvantageous for him. At this point in time, he had already analyzed the situation. Firstly, First Elder didn't want to take him as a disciple for some reason. Secondly, Elder Shui wasn't sincere. Thirdly, Haiyun Master had ulterior motives. The key was the second point. The reason why Elder Shui brought up the idea of accepting a disciple was just to ease up the atmosphere and give the first elder a way out so that he wouldn't break his promise. Haiyun Master had just said that he wanted to take Xiao Feng as a disciple, and Elder Shui had agreed without hesitation. Therefore, Elder Shui wasn't sincere and he couldn't be relied on. From the fact that he had taken Sun Yuanhao as a disciple, it could be seen that he valued talent. If I become Elder Shui's disciple, Haiyun Master might not necessarily protect me. Instead, he might even collude with Haiyun Master to sell me out. Xiao Feng quickly concluded. Elder Shui was insincere and unreliable. He was only trying to curry favor with the great elder. If Haiyun Master became his disciple, it would be like sending a sheep into a tiger's mouth, and it would go against Xiao Feng's principles and bottom line. Xiao Feng's mind spun and he came to a conclusion. Rather than acknowledging these two as his master, he might as well change his request. On the other hand, the first elder wouldn't easily accept a disciple, and wouldn't casually make promises. People like that would definitely do their best. Once they gained the first elder's approval, they would receive the best protection. Unfortunately, Xiao Feng secretly sighed and quickly made a decision. He didn't want to choose either Elder Shui or Haiyun Master. This choice made the crowd confused and puzzled. What kind of honor was it to become a disciple of an elder? It was no different from having a huge mountain behind one's back. The faces of Serene and the other two were filled with pity. Unfortunately, they were not Xiao Feng and had no choice. A light flashed in the first elder's eyes as he finally spoke. If you give up on this request, it will force me to go back on my words. But I have sworn that I will never take another disciple in my life. Hearing this, Xiao Feng finally understood the last question. No wonder the first elder remained silent when he asked to become a disciple. It was obvious that he was waiting for Elder Shui and Haiyun Master to help him out. But God's plans were different. Xiao Feng had rejected both Elder Shui and Haiyun Master at the same time, and would rather change his request. This meant that no matter if the first elder agreed or not, he would have to go back on his words. If you become my disciple, you have to agree to one request. The first elder continued. What request? Xiao Feng didn't think that the situation would change once again. Give up on Lightning Wind Palm, the great elder said, enunciating each word. Xiao Feng was surprised. Why did the first elder want him to give up on Lightning Wind Palm? Why didn't he take another disciple in his life? Suddenly, a sentence appeared in Xiao Feng's mind. Yang Gan used to have a senior brother who cultivated Lightning Wind Palm, but later on. This was what Sister Yuan had said. During the gathering, Yang Gan had tried to persuade Xiao Feng to cherish his life and stay away from Lightning Wind Palm. Could it be that Yang Gan was the first elder's disciple? That senior brother of his had unfortunately died while practicing the Lightning Wind Palm? First elder, you're Yang Gan's master? Xiao Feng asked carefully. Yang Gan was a prodigy who was ranked second amongst the 10 core disciples. As soon as Xiao Feng spoke, everyone nodded their heads. The first elder, however, remained silent and his eyes dimmed. Xiao Feng could see the sorrow and pain in his eyes. One could imagine that Yang Gan's senior brother who cultivated the Lightning Wind Palm must have been a peerless genius, but he died because of this skill. Xiao Feng, what's the harm in giving up a skill if you want to become the first elder's disciple? At this moment, Head Zhang of the Clan Mission Division couldn't help but remind him. In name, he was Xiao Feng's master. Give up Lightning Wind Palm? Xiao Feng's eyes were filled with determination. How could his will be shaken by others? Ever since Xiao Feng chose Lightning Wind Palm, he had never regretted it. During the process, Xiao Feng used his left eye to look at every part of the skill and he grasped any possible loopholes. He had analyzed that Lightning Wind Palm was a bit rough and the creator hadn't perfected it yet. Therefore, Xiao Feng wasn't only training this skill, he was also trying to perfect it and improve it. In the dimension of his left eye, he repeatedly simulated it. You must not be willing. It's too similar, Chinner had the same expression as you back then. He also said something similar to you. If I don't take him as my disciple, I will regret it in the future. The first elder had a complicated expression as he stared at Zhao Feng, as if this was another person from his memories. First elder. What he said I will do. What he can't do, I will complete. Zhao Feng's expression was calm and full of confidence. Arrogant. Shameless. As soon as he said this, the people around him started to criticize him. Even the two elders had their eyebrows furrowed. Some were even worried that Zhao Feng would be engulfed by first elder's anger. But Zhao Feng wasn't worried at all. Because at this moment, he had become the substitute for the disciple that first elder loved. There are also differences between you and him. First elder looked at Zhao Feng and smiled. Zhao Feng's heart jumped. Could it be that first elder could tell that he was using his emotions? You are as confident as him, and even arrogant. But there is one difference, you are very calm. First elder stared at Zhao Feng for a long time. Calm. This was a strong mentality that Zhao Feng had after merging with his left eye. No matter how much capital he had, no matter how high his achievements were, he would never truly be arrogant and conceited, nor would he lose himself. The high profile and arrogance he had displayed earlier were all methods to establish himself in the sect and resolve the predicament he was in. Now, it was all for the sake of achieving his goal. Zhao Feng and First Elder's eyes met, but they didn't move away. First Elder's face showed signs of struggle. After a long while, he let out a long breath. Since you don't want to give up on Lightning Wind Palm, I can only take you as an unnamed disciple. Of course, you can become the disciple of another elder or even change your request. All in all, I have tried my best. Tried his best. Zhao Feng could understand First Elder's stance. His most beloved disciple had met with misfortune due to practicing Lightning Wind Palm, and he swore that he would never take a disciple again. But he had given Zhao Feng a wish. Becoming his disciple wasn't an unreasonable request. Therefore, First Elder made a compromise. If Zhao Feng gave up on Lightning Wind Palm, then he would accept him as a disciple. Otherwise, how could he bear to see another disciple die in the same situation? But there was another problem. Zhao Feng was very similar to the disciples he had accepted in the past, and he wouldn't change his decision. After some struggle, First Elder could only promise to take Zhao Feng as an unnamed disciple. There was a huge difference between unnamed disciples and direct disciples. The former was only in name, and the master didn't have to pass down the true inheritance. Even if the unnamed disciple committed a heinous crime, the master wouldn't be implicated. Disciple greets master. Zhao Feng didn't hesitate, and immediately became his disciple. Just as he was about to bow, First Elder stopped him. He's only an unnamed disciple, not an official disciple. There's no need to be so formal. First Elder didn't want to put too much emotion on Zhao Feng because the latter practiced Lightning Wind Palm and would be a ticking time bomb in the future. Zhao Feng smiled faintly and didn't mind. He only became First Elder's disciple to find someone to rely on, that's all. From his point of view, being First Elder's unnamed disciple was better than being Elder Shue's direct disciple. Firstly, First Elder's status was high, and he rarely took in disciples. Even if it was an unnamed disciple, no one dared to casually touch him. Secondly, First Elder was a person who valued relationships. Even if it was an unnamed disciple, he wouldn't ignore Zhao Feng. At least it wouldn't be hard for him to be protected. After successfully becoming First Elder's disciple, Zhao Feng could feel the envious gazes of the surrounding disciples. Even if it was just becoming First Elder's unnamed disciple, it was enough to make many people envious. Being an unnamed disciple of Zhao Feng was extremely valuable. First Elder didn't easily take in disciples. Apart from Yanggan, there was only Zhao Feng. He wasn't like the other elders who had several direct disciples and many unnamed disciples. Furthermore, First Elder's status in the clan far surpassed normal elders, and even the clan master had to respect him. This brat actually succeeded. Haiyun Master paused for a moment, and his eyebrows furrowed as if he felt that this matter was troublesome. First Elder's status in the clan was too special and he was above the other elders. Even if Zhao Feng was only First Elder's in-name disciple, his treatment wasn't any worse than the direct disciples of the other elders. At this moment, Zhao Feng's heart calmed down. According to his master's plan, he had achieved his second goal in the clan. First goal, to become an inner disciple. Second goal, to find someone to rely on. The backer he had found was not just an ordinary kind of powerful person. From the wariness and hatred in Quan Chen and Yuan Ji's eyes, Zhao Feng could see a thing or two. For the next few days, the Broken Moon clan searched 1,000 miles around the Xing family to find the location of the Blood Corpse Protector, but there was no progress. The Blood Corpse Protector was heavily injured and shouldn't have been able to escape more than a few hundred miles. However, the Broken Moon clan sent out experts and even elders, but they still couldn't find the shadow of the demonic religion. What the Broken Moon clan didn't know was that if Zhao Feng used his left eye, he would have at least a 50 to 60% chance of finding the Blood Corpse Protector. But unfortunately, Zhao Feng's goals had all been achieved. High profile was enough. Next, he needed to be low profile and focus on increasing his strength. Chapter 158. Half a month later, the Broken Moon clan searched around the Xing family, but they couldn't find any traces of the demonic religion. The search area became wider and wider, but the hope became smaller and smaller. Finally, the three elders returned and the majority of the clan's experts left. Zhao Feng also returned to the Broken Moon clan. The third day after the elites of the clan left. In the depths of the Xing family, a weird pu-pu sound came from a grave. If one looked down from the sky and could see through the soil, they would see a strange scene. The blood of all the corpses in the Xing family seeped into the soil, following a strange path and converging at a single point. These corpses were all locals of the Xing family. Although they had been cremated, the blood of the corpses had already seeped into the soil. Being a hidden family, the cultivation of the adults in the Xing family were all at the second rank of the consolidated realm, and there were some who were at the fourth rank of the consolidated realm or higher. Under the guidance of a strange force, the blood that was left behind by the plague seeped into the soil and gathered at one point. Zhizhe, the most dangerous place is also the safest place. The blood plague essence gathering array was set up several months ago, so it's within my expectations that the clan would find it. A silver-striped blood corpse crawled out of the ground, its body overflowing with blood. Being the Blood Corpse Protector, it had lived for several hundred years and had long since left the realm of a human and turned into a half-dead. Therefore, his lifespan was several times longer than those at the true spirit realm, or even longer. After appearing in the world, the aura from the silver-striped blood corpse was much stronger, and it had recovered to the fifth sky of the ascended realm. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to refine the blood jade pill. Brat surnamed Zhao, we'll meet again one day. A weird smile appeared on the Blood Corpse Protector's face as he licked his lips. In his plan, he had already predicted that the Broken Moon clan would search everywhere, and the only exception was Zhao Feng. Thinking about how he, a Blood Corpse Protector, had been blackmailed by a brat, the more he thought about it, the angrier he became. But what the Blood Corpse Protector didn't know was that he had also walked through the gates of hell. After Zhao Feng made a great contribution, he became more low-key and kept his left eye hidden during the search. Otherwise, if Zhao Feng fully opened his left eye and searched the villa, it would not be difficult for him to find the blood plague essence gathering formation that was hidden under the soil. A few days later, the elites of the Broken Moon clan returned to Sky Moon Mountain. From afar, Zhao Feng could see the floating crest palace floating in the air above the mountain peak with the rain and lightning. It was majestic and gave off an ancient and desolate feeling. In 2 months, the floating crest trial will begin. Some disciples looked up at the dark green palace in the sky, their expressions filled with anticipation and urgency. The deadline of the floating crest trial was approaching. Some of the disciples wanted to change their fates and fight for opportunities. They secretly accumulated their strength and were full of fighting spirit. Most of the disciples in the clan didn't have any background, and the floating crest trial was a fair opportunity. If they could grasp it, they could change their future. The floating crest trial that happens once every 5 years, I must grasp it. Zhao Feng's heart was firm and unshakable. The clan examination that happened once every 5 years, the floating crest trial that happened once every 5 years. If he missed any one of these opportunities, he could be stuck here for years. For Zhao Feng, 5 years was too long. Ever since he had merged with the mysterious left eye, he had been flying high. He had stayed in the Zhao clan for a few months before entering the Guanjuan Palace. Then, he had cultivated in the Guanjuan Palace for a few months before entering the clan. After cultivating in the clan for a few months, he had reached his current height. A year ago, in the Zhao family, he was only a 13 or 14-year-old youth, not even 14. 1 year later, he had successfully entered the clan at the age of 14. One's life was completed through these opportunities. If it wasn't for this, Zhao Feng wouldn't have been able to reach the second sky of the Ascended Realm from the first rank of the martial path in just 1 year. Such a speed of advancement couldn't be said to be slow, and it was sufficient to compare with some peerless geniuses in the world of sections. Returning to the inner disciples, Zhao Feng said his goodbyes to Lin Fan and company. Lin Fan was the last to leave, and he said sincerely, "Brother Zhao, not only did you save my life, you also gave me such an opportunity. I will remember your kindness, and I will definitely repay you in the future." Sending Lin Fan off with his eyes, Zhao Feng fell into deep thought. He was alone in the clan, and he didn't have any friends he could rely on. His 2 senior brothers, Yang Qishan and Nan Gongfan, weren't strong enough yet. On the other hand, Lin Fan was the first to wake up after being poisoned, and he was stronger than Xiao Sun and Serene. The two worked well together during the mission. In the forest, when Zhao Feng had mysteriously disappeared, only Lin Fan had questioned Huang Yun and the others. Lin Fan didn't know that this thought of Zhao Feng had changed his fate. In the blink of an eye, half a month had passed. After finding the Scarlet Moon demonic cave, the Broken Moon clan had calmed down. This news had spread to the other clans of the 13 clans, and they all started to talk about what to do. This had nothing to do with Zhao Feng. After returning to the clan, he used his primal crystal stones and contribution points to buy some spiritual pills. The first step was to increase his body strengthening cultivation. After reaching the 10th level, Silver Wall Technique's progress was extremely slow, like a snail. The 11th level was the highest level of the Silver Wall incantation, a perfect body without melting in the furnace. According to the description of the skill, at the highest level, one could fight against those at the 3rd sky of the Ascended Realm with just their body strength. Therefore, the difference between the 10th and 11th level wasn't small. Zhao Feng originally thought that he could reach his goal by spending 100 or 200 substandard primal crystal stones, but he still hadn't reached his goal after spending almost 1,000. After spending almost 1,000 primal crystal stones and contribution points, Zhao Feng's Silver Wall Technique had only reached the peak 10th level, and he was about to break through the last bottleneck. He was only half a step away from the 11th level. Zhao Feng sighed. He didn't think that even with his bloodline power, and all these resources, his body strengthening cultivation would still be so slow. In the world of clans, there weren't many cultivators who focused on body strengthening, so one could see how difficult it was. Furthermore, Zhao Feng had overestimated the speed of breaking through to the Ascended Realm. Every time one broke through to the 7th sky of the Ascended Realm, one's state of existence would change, and it wasn't easy. I still have 22,000 or so substandard primal crystal stones. I should be able to succeed if I spend another 500. Zhao Feng analyzed in his heart. He had indeed gained a lot from the last mission, but he still needed to plan how to use the primal crystal stones he had. Especially when he was about to face the floating crest trial. Every minute and second was extremely important. If he bought his own materials, he could save money. But Zhao Feng's time was precious and he couldn't waste it. The floating crest trial was the true fortune, and he didn't regret wasting these primal crystal stones. Another few days passed. Zhao Feng's Silver Wall Technique had finally reached the 11th level. In order to reach this goal, he had spent a total of 2,000 substandard primal crystal stones, which was equivalent to 20 low-grade primal crystal stones. Of course, by paying such a price, Zhao Feng's strength had increased to a terrifying level. Not melting in a furnace, a perfect body. Zhao Feng sat cross-legged and circulated his body-strengthening technique. A layer of silver light appeared around his body, making him seem like a Buddha made of gold and metal. Now, his body's strength could fight against normal cultivators at the third sky of the ascended realm. In terms of defense, it was even more terrifying. If he was thrown into a furnace, he would be fine for a short period of time. At the same time that his body-strengthening technique increased, Zhao Feng's inner force also increased. The Heavenly Wind God technique was a high-class mortal skill, and Zhao Feng had trained it to the 4th level, with the highest level being the 6th. The higher the level of this skill, the purer the true force would be. At the 4th level, the purity of the true force would be comparable to those at the 4th sky of the ascended realm. Although Zhao Feng's cultivation was only at the 2nd sky of the ascended realm, the purity of his true force was comparable to those at the 4th sky of the ascended realm. Over the past month, the Heavenly Wind God technique and Silver Wall technique had both improved, but the Lightning Wind Palm had improved the slowest. The Lightning Wind Palm was split into 6 levels. Zhao Feng had stopped at the early stages of the 3rd level, Summon Lightning, and he was only half a step away from the 4th level, Great Thunder. Once I reach the 4th level, I'll be able to summon lightning and numb the opponent's body. Not only is it powerful, it can also control the opponent. Zhao Feng looked forward to this level. But from the 4th level onwards, the Lightning Wind Palm would change from wind to lightning. As for the power of lightning, Zhao Feng had only just started, so his progress was slow. Another reason was that the Lightning Wind Palm was a bit rough. As Zhao Feng trained, he would practice it in the dimension of his left eye. Of course, his hard work wouldn't go to waste. His Lightning Wind Palm had reached the peak 3rd level, and as long as he could break through the last layer, he would be able to reach the 4th level. Time passed by quickly, and there was only 1 month left in the Floating Crest trial. Zhao Feng felt that his body strengthening, cultivation and martial arts had all reached a bottleneck. I've already mastered the Silver Wall technique. I wonder if I can get my hands on the 9-twist Golden Wall technique. Zhao Feng thought. According to what he knew, the 9-twist Golden Wall technique was a peak-class mortal skill, and it was extremely precious in the clan. There were only tens of peak-class mortal skills in the entire clan. Zhao Feng had close to 50,000 contribution points, and choosing a middle-class mortal skill required 5,000 points. Therefore, Zhao Feng decided to ask First Elder about this. Nominally, the Great Elder was now his master. But ever since he returned to the sect, this esteemed master hadn't given Zhao Feng any pointers or even asked him anything. Usually, even if there was something, First Elder would ask Yang Gan to instruct Zhao Feng. Today, First Elder was teaching disciple Yang Gan, and Zhao Feng's request was quickly accepted. You're talking about the 9-twist Golden Wall technique? First Elder's eyebrows furrowed. Brother Zhao, the 9-twist Golden Wall technique is a peak-class mortal skill. You're biting off more than you can chew. Yang Gan let out a laugh and couldn't help but shake his head. His junior brother was too impatient. Even a core disciple of the First Elder didn't have the right to learn a peak-class mortal cultivation skill. Chapter 159. Seeing First Elder's and Yang Gan's reactions, Zhao Feng added, Disciple means to exchange contribution points for a peak-class mortal skill. The clan had instructions on how to exchange contribution points for a middle-class mortal skill, but there were no rules for high-class mortal skills. You don't have enough contribution points to exchange for a peak-class mortal skill. Even if you have enough, you won't be able to exchange for it. First Elder shook his head. Zhao Feng couldn't help but be dazed. Yang Gan answered with a smile. Not only do you need 200,000 contribution points, you also need to be at least at the 6th sky of the Ascended Realm. 200,000 contribution points. 6th sky of the Ascended Realm. Zhao Feng's heart went cold. He knew that he had no chance. He hadn't even reached one of the 2 requirements, and he was far from it. He never would have thought that the requirements for a peak-class mortal skill would be so high. Junior Martial Brother Zhao, peak mortal martial skills are of a very high level. It's not something you can touch. Especially the 9-twist golden wall technique, it's extremely difficult, and even elders find it hard to train it to the highest level. Yang Gan sighed as he spoke up to hear. Zhao Feng's dream couldn't even be described as biting off more than he could chew. In the clan, Yang Gan had never heard of a disciple at the second sky of the Ascended Realm asking for a peak-class mortal skill. In the Broken Moon clan, only elders could learn a few peak-class mortal skills. As for the spiritual skills, they were the ultimate skills of the clan, and even elders might not be able to comprehend more than half of it. Why did you choose the 9-twist golden wall technique? The path of body strengthening is the hardest. You've already left the consolidated realm and reached the ascended realm. Why don't you put more effort into what you're good at? For example, your mental energy. First Elder's eyes twinkled as he stared at Zhao Feng. Hearing this, Zhao Feng fell into deep thought as he pondered over First Elder's words. He suddenly felt that First Elder's words made sense. Why did he have to choose the difficult path of body strengthening? Should he choose the unattainable 9 transformation golden wall technique? In the 9 stages of the martial path, the body was the foundation. Zhao Feng had focused on refining his body and entering the ascended mortality realm, which had indeed laid a good foundation. However, the problem was that he had already advanced to the transcending mortality stage, so he didn't have to choose the 9 transformation golden wall technique. Besides, First Elder's eyes were sharp. He could see that Zhao Feng had an extraordinary mental energy, which came from the mysterious left eye, from the small blue abyss in the dimension of the left eye. Zhao Feng had only performed a superficial, psychic assassination. He didn't know how to open this potential treasure. After pondering for a moment, Zhao Feng made up his mind. What do you think? The First Elder narrowed his eyes. Master's words make sense. I shouldn't be so obsessed with body refinement. Perhaps this isn't the best cultivation path for me. Zhao Feng nodded in acknowledgement. Even though he had the power of his bloodline, he didn't feel as smooth as before when he was cultivating. Seeing Zhao Feng comprehend it so easily, the First Elder was slightly surprised and thought, "This kid is smart, and doesn't seem like a rebellious person. But why doesn't he give up on the lightning wind palm? It's a pity that the silver wall technique has reached the highest level." Zhao Feng sighed. When as his qi and blood surged, a layer of silver crystal appeared on the surface of his body, making him look like a crystal statue. This was the 11th level of the silver wall technique. Not melting in the furnace, a perfect body. What? The expressions of First Elder and Yang Gan changed at the same time. They never would have thought that Zhao Feng's body strengthening technique had reached such a high level. Just his body alone was comparable to the 3rd sky of the Ascended Realm. Brother Zhao's body strengthening technique has reached such a high level. He definitely has the chance to enter the Floating Crest trial, Yang Gan said, slightly surprised. It wasn't that no one in the clan could train a mortal body strengthening technique to the highest level, but it was extremely rare. But there wasn't a second person as young as Zhao Feng, who said he didn't specialize in body strengthening. The eyebrows of the First Elder twitched slightly. At the same time, he admired Zhao Feng's decisiveness. If it was an ordinary person who had reached this level of body refining technique, how could they easily give up? Even he felt that it was a pity. Maybe Zhao Feng had some talent in body strengthening. Thinking up to here, the First Elder smiled. It's not like there's no chance at all. I can give you a path. Even if your cultivation and contribution points aren't enough, you can still get the 9-twist golden wall technique and other peak-class mortal skills. Master, please speak. Zhao Feng's heart moved. Floating Crest Trial. The First Elder said word by word. Floating Crest Trial? Zhao Feng and Yang Gan looked at each other. The Floating Crest Trial is a great opportunity for you and the clan. If you are strong enough, you will be able to get peak-class mortal skills, spiritual skills and spiritual weapons in the Floating Crest Trial. The First Elder smiled faintly. Xiao Feng and Yang Gan's jaws dropped. What was so special about the Floating Crest Palace that it even had spiritual skills? If you can get a peak-class mortal skill from the Floating Crest Palace, you can trade the 9-twist golden wall technique with the clan. The first elder explained. No wonder. Xiao Feng understood. Even the elders of the clan were looking forward to the Floating Crest trial. However, this mysterious palace had restrictions on outsiders. Those over a certain cultivation and age weren't able to enter. There's one more thing. If you have great talent in a certain area, you may be able to get a corresponding inheritance in the Floating Crest Palace. The Grand Elder stroked his beard and smiled. Hearing this, Zhao Feng's heart thumped. Core disciple Yang Gan also had a look of yearning on his face. Zhao Feng finally understood why the clan placed so much importance on the Floating Crest trial. Thank you for your advice, Master. Disciple will be leaving now. Zhao Feng didn't stay for long and left. Only the first elder and Yang Gan were left. With his performance in the Scarlet Moon Demonic Cave and his current body-strengthening skills, he should be able to enter the Floating Crest trial. The first elder murmured. Master, if he enters the trial, should I help him? Yang Gan suddenly asked. He didn't know what his master thought of this outer disciple. No need! The first elder's expression was decisive. The Floating Crest trial is extremely important to you and you can only enter it once in your life. You're the strongest disciple here, so you must grasp this opportunity. Disciple understands. Yang Gan let out a breath. It looked like he was very important in Master's heart, and wasn't something an outer disciple could compare to. Furthermore, the life and death of a person who practiced the lightning wind palm was unknown. It was impossible for Master to invest too much emotion in him. After sending Yang Gan off, the first elder murmured to himself. This Zhao Feng is so decisive to give up on the path of body strengthening and choose the most beneficial path for himself. He's calm and doesn't seem like someone who's arrogant. But if that's the case, why does he want to practice the lightning wind palm? After leaving the first elder's palace, Zhao Feng's mind cleared up. After reaching the Ascended Realm, he had formed a solid foundation. Now, he didn't need to focus on body strengthening. From a new perspective, he would walk on whatever path was most suitable for him. This was the most logical choice. Since the 9-twist golden wall technique was so rare, there was no need for him to force it. The path of body strengthening is slow and it consumes large amounts of resources, which will slow down my cultivation. The more Zhao Feng thought about it, the more confident he became. Apart from that, the first elder mentioned that Zhao Feng had mental energy that surpassed others. Even an outsider could see this, but Zhao Feng had forgotten about this treasure. In the next period of time, Zhao Feng started to prepare for the Floating Crest trial and the competition before it. There were only 10 spots for the Floating Crest trial, so the competition would be intense. Many of those who signed up were at the third sky of the Ascended Realm and some core disciples. Not only was Zhao Feng working hard, the other inner disciples were also training hard. Lin Fan, who lived next door, would occasionally come over to spar with Zhao Feng. After the last mission, Lin Fan had gained a lot and he had broken through to the second sky of the Ascended Realm a month ago. A few days ago, Lin Fan had easily defeated his old rival Serene in a spar. One had to know that Serene had also broken through to the third sky half a month ago, but he wasn't Lin Fan's match. Lin Fan's talent wasn't high, but just like Zhao Feng, he had a strong will and he could challenge those of higher cultivation. Zhao Feng and Lin Fan fought in a small area in their own courtyard. Wave reverse blade technique. Lin Fan held a simple and thick saber in his hand. With a sudden slash, his aura was like a rainbow, as though he was cutting through the waves, giving off a suffocating feeling. You've learned a high-class mortal blade skill so quickly! Zhao Feng laughed lightly and he circulated his lightning wind palm, forcing Lin Fan back. Not only had Lin Fan learned a high-class mortal blade skill, he had also changed his weapon to a low-grade mortal weapon. Zhao Feng had used 70% of his strength to barely defeat Lin Fan after 20 moves. One had to know that cultivators at the second sky of the Ascended Realm wouldn't be able to last more than a few moves against Zhao Feng, even if he only used 70% of his strength. It's all thanks to Brother Zhao for teaching me a high-class mortal skill, but even so, I'm still not Brother Zhao's match. Lin Fan was grateful, but also slightly bitter. Although he had received a large amount of contribution points and spirit stones, it wasn't enough to exchange for a high-class mortal skill. Zhao Feng felt that Lin Fan was reliable, so he gave him the wave reverse blade technique from the hole in the hollow building. The group had gained a lot from the mission, and even if they had high-class mortal skills, they wouldn't attract much attention. Brother Zhao, your strength is probably close to the fourth sky of the Ascended Realm. It's definitely not a problem for you to get a spot. But why don't you get a weapon to increase your strength? Lin Fan suggested. Weapon? Zhao Feng's heart moved. His golden stairs bow wasn't enough. The floating crest trial depended on one's strength, so getting a good weapon could indeed increase one's overall strength. Thinking up to here, he went to the Clan Mission Division. Clan Mission Division. Zhao Feng saw Old Man Zhang and he immediately told him what he wanted. I can give you an extra 20% discount. Old Man Zhang smiled warmly. Extra 20% discount? Zhao Feng smiled. This discount was extra and normal people definitely wouldn't be able to get it. Soon, Old Man Zhang brought Zhao Feng to the Hall of Weapons. Chapter 160. Inside the Divine Weapon Hall, there were all sorts of powerful weapons, like treasures, arranged everywhere. If it was any other sect disciple, their hearts would palpitate with excitement and yearning. However, the prices of these divine weapons were not cheap. Any divine weapon would cost thousands of substandard crystal stones, and this was just a mortal lower-grade divine weapon. If it were a mortal middle-grade divine weapon, it would easily cost tens of thousands. Old Zhang had a good relationship with Zhao Feng, so he brought him to the Divine Weapon Treasury. In the treasury, every divine weapon was at least a mortal lower-grade divine weapon, and they were the best of the same kind. Black Wind Blade can increase the strength of true power by 20%, increase the speed of blade by 30%, emits a black wind aura, and increases the concept of blade aura. Mortal lower-grade divine weapon, price, 6,600 substandard crystal stones. Flowing feather sword, light as a feather, cutting through iron like mud, increases the speed of true power breaking through the air by 30%, increases the density of sword chi by 30%. Price, 5,800 substandard primordial crystal stones. Red flame sword, smelted with red flame crystal, adds fire attack, combined with fire-type martial arts, can increase the attack power by at least 40%. Price, 5,500 substandard crystal stones. Zhao Feng took a look. The mortal lower-grade divine weapons in the treasury were a few times more expensive than the same grade divine weapons, and their attributes were not bad. Especially the Black Wind Blade. It had 3 attributes, but the price was over 6,000, almost double the price of some of the cheaper divine weapons. Every weapon's material, workmanship, and power are better than the same grade divine weapons. Of course, the price is much higher. Old Zhang smiled. He promised to give Zhao Feng a 20% discount, which was already an unimaginable benefit. Even direct disciples could not enjoy it. In normal sects, only elders could enjoy such a discount. Zhao Feng nodded, his gaze sweeping across the divine weapons in the treasury: blades, swords, whips, axes, halberds, bows and arrows, gloves. Everything that one could think of was there. Among all the divine weapons, swords and blades were the mainstream. One was the king of weapons, the other was the overlord of weapons. These 2 weapons were relatively common, and easy to learn. Unfortunately, Zhao Feng was not interested in sabers and swords at the moment. These 2 types of weapons could not bring out his greatest strength. Comparatively speaking, a long-range bow was tailor-made for him. Zhao Feng then looked at the bow-type divine weapons and found that there were very few bows in the treasure room. It seemed that the weapons he was good at were all a little non-mainstream. Heavenly Eagle Bow, shooting range of 2 li, can increase one's field of vision by 1 li. The full power of the bow can pierce through 4 armors and break through the true power layer of the 4th layer of the Ascended Realm. Price: 3,600 substandard crystal stones. Zhao Feng picked up the bow and looked at it. Its attributes and power were quite good. There was a special array formation on the bow that could increase one's vision, but it was useless against Zhao Feng. If there were no obstructions, his left eye could clearly see objects hundreds of miles away. His right eye was also stronger than an ordinary person's, and he could see a fly several miles away. Azure Iron Bow, extremely explosive power. The full power of the bow can penetrate 4 layers of armor. Requires extremely strong arm strength and high vision requirements. The price of this bow was even lower, only 2,900 substandard crystal stones. Zhao Feng looked at it again and found that the price of the bow-type divine weapons was 20 to 30% lower than the others. Bow-type divine weapons are, after all, unpopular. If I leave it here, I might not be able to sell even 1 or 2 in a few years. Old man Zhang smiled. Zhao Feng thought that this was a good thing for him. But thinking about it, bow-type divine weapons also needed arrows, and the latter was considered a semi-consumable item. I have 200 low-grade primal crystal stones, which is more than enough to buy a low-grade mortal weapon. Thinking up to here, Zhao Feng placed his attention on the middle-grade mortal weapons. Middle-grade mortal weapons were a level higher in price. Swords and blades were usually 40 to 50,000 in the Great Hall, but 70 to 80,000 substandard crystal stones here. But at the same time, middle-grade mortal weapons were extremely powerful. For example, the sword that Zhao Feng saw could double the true force of a cultivator at the 4th sky of the Ascended Realm, making it even stronger than a cultivator at the 5th sky of the Ascended Realm. With such a weapon, it was possible to kill those at a higher level. Luoho Bao, speed can break through the sound barrier. Depending on arm strength and true force, it can pierce through 3 layers of armor, and it can insta-kill cultivators at the 5th sky of the Ascended Realm. The Luoho arrow, when used with this bow, doubles the power and speed. According to the owner's thoughts, it can lock onto the enemy's vitals, and even if the attack misses, it can still chase after the enemy. The bow alone is at the peak of the middle-grade mortal grade. With the Luoho arrow, it is close to the high-grade mortal grade. The price of the bow is 80,000 substandard crystal stones, and the price of the entire set is 150,000 substandard crystal stones. When Zhao Feng saw this bow, his heart was inexplicably attracted. This bow was too strong. Whether it was speed or power, it had reached the extreme. No wonder it was a middle-grade mortal weapon. Its power and attributes were beyond imagination. Zhao Feng took off the dark green and red weird bow and felt that it wasn't made of wood or metal. It was extremely unique. This bow was smaller than normal bows, only slightly bigger than a crossbow. Its attack speed is even faster than sound, and it can insta-kill cultivators at the 5th sky of the Ascended Realm. Combined with the Luoho arrow, the might of all the attributes will be doubled. In fact, the arrow will be able to lock onto the enemy and chase them for a certain distance. Zhao Feng thought about the attributes of the bow and couldn't bear to let go. However, the price of this bow was also terrifyingly high, 150,000 substandard crystal stones. Too expensive! Zhao Feng took in a deep breath. You want the Luoho bow? Old man Zhang said with a smile. Unfortunately, it's too expensive. And this is only a bow. If it were any other divine weapon, the price would probably be more than 200,000. Zhao Feng shook his head. According to the rules of the clan, you can get a 50% discount on a middle-grade mortal weapon for 50,000 contribution points. This old man will give you another 20% discount, so the final price is 30%. Old man Zhang said with a smile. 30% discount? Zhao Feng's heart moved. This way, the final price would be 45,000 substandard crystal stones. If he just bought the bow, it would be 24,000 substandard crystal stones. In principle, you have to sell the entire set. If you want to buy the bow alone, you have to buy all 3 Luoho arrows within 3 years. This old man can guarantee for you. Old man Zhang laughed. After all, he was Zhao Feng's teacher in name, and he had to make things easier for Zhao Feng. Zhao Feng thought about it. Even if he didn't have the arrows, he could only use 20 to 30% of the Luoho Bao's power. Normal middle-grade mortal weapons required one to be at the fifth sky of the Ascended Realm to unleash their full power. But even with a 30% discount, the Luoho Bao alone would still cost 24,000 substandard crystal stones. Zhao Feng only had a bit more than 20,000. Teacher, why don't we do this? We'll put the remaining 4,000 substandard crystal stones on credit first. After I enter the Floating Crest trial, I'll be able to get a few weapons with my strength. It won't be too late to pay the primal crystal stones then, Zhao Feng suggested. Okay. Old man John had seen Zhao Feng's strength in the Scarlet Moon Cave, and he knew that the latter had the ability to enter the Floating Crest Palace. Let me remind you, although there are many treasures in the Floating Crest Palace, do you think there's gold everywhere for you to pick up? Only a small number of disciples have been able to find treasures in the past. In the past 100 years, apart from Hai Yun Master, I've never heard of anyone else getting anything. Even that Elder Yun, who only got 2 mortal-grade magic weapons, is still the best in the last 100 years of the Floating Crest trial, Old Man Zhang said. As for the 4,000 substandard crystal stones that Zhao Feng owed, Old Man Zhang wasn't worried at all. Not to mention the treasures in the Floating Crest trial, Zhao Feng's pill-making skills were enough for him to earn back these primal crystal stones. Thank you, teacher. Zhao Feng took off the Luoho Bao and felt warmth in his heart. In the sect, only the 2 Vice Hall Masters were willing to take care of him. Shu, the 3 dark red arrows returned to the Luoho Bao as if they had a mind of their own. Zhao Feng was shocked. Could it be that the Bao had a mind of its own? He had subconsciously merged a bit of true force into the Bao, but the 3 Luoho arrows returned to the Bao. If he used the Luoho arrow, even if the enemy tried to dodge, he would be able to chase after them. This Bao and sword are connected by the mother and child's heart. It can automatically return the Luoho arrow to its original position. Usually only high-grade mortal bows and arrows have this ability, Old Man Zhang explained. Next time, I'll definitely bring the Luoho arrow out, Zhao Feng thought in his heart. Right now, he could only bring the Luoho Bao. After spending another few hundred substandard crystal stones to buy a quiver of high-quality arrows, Zhao Feng left the Clan Affairs Division. On the way, Zhao Feng passed by the true martial challenge stage of the Inner Hall Division and heard the sounds of fighting. Challenging a core disciple! It's been 1 or 2 years since I've seen such an exciting battle. The challenger is Quan Chin. He reached the 4th sky half a month ago, so he does have the right to do so. On the stage, 2 disciples at the 4th sky of the Ascended Realm fought fiercely. One of them was Quan Chin. When Zhao Feng arrived, the battle was coming to an end. Waning Moon Flying Blade. Quan Chin waved his arms and 3 to 4 silver lights shot out at the same time. The cold wind cut the core disciple at the 4th sky of the Ascended Realm into a ruffled state with tens of wounds on his body. When he fought Zhao Feng in the Scarlet Moon Demonic Cave, Quan Chin had only used 1 blade of Waning Moon, but this Waning Moon Flying Blade had shot out 4 or 5 at once. I admit defeat! The core disciple let out a long breath. Brother Quan, I didn't think that you trained 2 high-class mortal skills at the same time, and your Cold Moon Manual has reached the 4th level. The Cold Moon Manual and Zhao Feng's Heavenly Wind God Technique were skills of the same level. Zhao Feng's Heavenly Wind God Technique had also reached the 4th level, which was the same level as Quan Chin. But the latter's cultivation was higher, and he had studied it for many years, so his power surpassed the 2nd sky of the Ascended Realm. This Quan Chen's improvement isn't small. He's more than twice as strong as he was in the Scarlet Moon Demonic Cave, Zhao Feng thought. After Quan Chen won, he became a core disciple and was ranked in the top 10. Including his second brother Yuan Ji, 2 of the top 10 core disciples were from Hai Yun Master. I heard that Brother Quan is going to participate in the Floating Crest trial. There's no need to fight for a spot to become a core disciple. Some of the inner disciples were both envious and worried at the same time. Core disciple? Quan Chin is also going to participate in the floating crest trial? Zhao Feng's eyebrows furrowed as a cold light flashed in his eyes. In the blink of an eye, tens of days passed. There were only 10 days left in the floating crest trial. Apart from the core disciples, everyone who wanted to participate had to fight for a spot. This time, there were 3 core disciples participating in the floating crest trial. Therefore, there were only 7 spots left to compete for. Chapter 161. Broken Moon Clan, Central Division. At the first light of day, many figures arrived at the central hall square. Some of them were inner disciples, and some were other members of the sect. Today wasn't the inner disciples gathering, but there were more and more people arriving. His gaze followed the main hall of the central hall and looked up into the sky. High up in the sky, there floated a dark green palace. It was majestic and mysterious, surrounded by lightning and rain, emitting an ancient aura. Amongst the crowd, Zhao Feng and Lin Fan had also arrived. Zhao Feng's gaze was fixated on the floating crest palace. He found that the aura around the floating crest palace was stronger than a few months ago. Today was the day before the floating crest trial, the full name of which was the floating crest competition. The floating crest trial was opened once every 5 years and it was a great opportunity for the clan. At the same time, the floating crest competition was also held once every 5 years. Using this opportunity, the upper echelon elders of the clan would appear and inspect the elite disciples. Brother Zhao, Brother Lin, you guys also signed up for the competition? Serene smiled as he walked over. Ever since the Xing family mission, Serene and Zhao Feng had become friends. That's right. With Brother Zhao's strength, he can definitely participate in the floating crest trial, but I'm a bit worried. Lin Fan smiled. Brother Zhao will definitely be fine. Serene nodded his head. Because they had participated in the mission together, Serene knew Zhao Feng's strength very well. When they were free, the 3 would spar with each other. Amongst them, Zhao Feng was the strongest, followed by Lin Fan and then Serene. Serene usually didn't have the chance to spar with Zhao Feng, but Lin Fan, who easily beat him every time, would feel helpless whenever Zhao Feng was mentioned. The conversation between the 3 was heard by Princess Yunmingxiang. Participating in the floating crest trial? From Serene and Lin Fan's tone, it seems like Zhao Feng will definitely get a spot? Yunmingxiang's eyes turned and landed on Zhao Feng. Only then did she realize that she had been paying less attention to Zhao Feng after joining the inner sect. As for the sensational incident at the Crimson Moon Cave, she did not participate in it herself. She only thought that Zhao Feng was lucky. Yunmingxiang was only at the first sky, so she didn't sign up for the floating crest competition. More and more people gathered at the square. Inner disciples and true disciples appeared one after another. An hour later, all of the inner sect disciples had arrived. Even some of the outer sect disciples had heard the news and come to watch. The sect would turn a blind eye to such a large-scale event, allowing them to enter the inner sect. Junior Brother Zhao, good luck! Yang Qishan and Nan Gongfan cheered for Zhao Feng from the crowd. Zhao Feng nodded with a smile and greeted his 2 senior brothers. Junior Brother Zhao, come over here. A masculine voice came from the other side of the crowd. It's core disciple Yang Gan. Yang Gan! He is ranked 2nd among the direct disciples and is a popular candidate for the chief disciple position. The crowd went into an uproar. Yang Gan was wearing a white robe and his perfect figure was like a marble sculpture. His handsomeness gave off a masculine charm. Being an inner disciple, Yang Gan's every action was watched by everyone. Some of the female disciples' faces went red as they stared at that handsome figure. Senior Brother Yang. Zhao Feng went up and walked together with Yang Gan. In name, they were both disciples of First Elder, and could be considered as the only disciples of the sect. Yang Gan was a righteous person and hated evil. Although he wasn't very friendly to Zhao Feng, he didn't make things difficult for him and took care of Zhao Feng. He did his duty as a senior brother, and no one could find fault with him. Who's that guy? Why is he walking together with senior brother Yang? Many people were surprised. Many people knew what was going on and started to whisper among themselves. At this point in time, Zhao Feng also received many gazes. Zhao Feng's azure hair and one eye made everyone look at him. He was calm as he walked together with Yang Gan. Yang Gan had purposely brought Zhao Feng into the circle of core disciples. Amongst the core disciples, the ones Zhao Feng was familiar with were Sister Yuan, Quan Chen, and Yuan Ji. This guy's a disciple of First Elder. Sister Yuan looked at Zhao Feng with unfriendliness. She was still walking with Ran Xiaoyuan. The latter's bright eyes were slightly timid as she greeted Zhao Feng. Knowing that Zhao Feng was going to participate in the floating crest competition, Sister Yuan teased. Sister Ran, if you meet this brat in the competition, don't be polite and teach him a lesson. I might not meet him. Ran Xiaoyuan's face went slightly red as she sneaked a glance at Zhao Feng. The floating crest competition had a 7-match system. This meant that everyone had to fight 7 matches. The winner would fight against the winner, and the loser would fight against the loser. There were dozens of people participating in the competition, and each person only had to fight 7 matches. The chances of meeting someone wasn't high, but it wasn't low either. Apart from that, the 7-match system had another rule. Those who won 4 matches in a row would be directly selected. The more they won, the more powerful their next opponent would be, and the greater the resistance they would face. If they could win 4 matches in a row, they would definitely have the strength to enter the top 10. An hour later, the upper echelon of the clan appeared. In the middle of the sky center field was a 100-yard wide array stage. The array stage was strengthened by the power of the array, and the person in charge was Head Zhang of the clan mission division. So the clouds and the mountains shook as the wind howled and the heaven-earth yuan qi fluctuated. The next instant, a wave of true spirit realm pressure came from several directions. Greetings, Elder! The first to arrive were Elder Shui and Haiyun Master. After Elder Shui and Haiyun Master sat down, another powerful aura appeared that was much stronger than normal elders. First Elder! Everyone bowed and even the 2 elders stood up. Immediately following that was the clan master, and another elder. Greetings, clan master, greetings, Granny Luwe. The disciples, deacons, and vice heads below all bowed respectfully. The 2 experts at the true spirit realm were both females. One of them was a peerless beauty dressed in a palace robe. Her eyes were as clear as water, and she had a hint of holiness in her calmness that made others feel inferior. She was the Broken Moon Clan Master. Although they were both at the true spirit realm, the Broken Moon Clan Master's aura was much stronger than Haiyun Master's. Next to the Broken Moon Clan Master was a white-haired old lady who gave off the smell of herbs. Head of the Grasswood Division, Granny Luwe. Zhao Feng knew some information about this person. Granny Luwe was the #1 pill master of the clan, and in terms of cultivation and skill, she surpassed Old Man Guan. The clan master, first elder, and the 3 elders all sat down. Behind them stood their core disciples. Behind the Broken Moon Clan master were 2 female disciples, Sister Yuan and Ran Xiaoyuan. Ran Xiaoyuan's master is the clan master. Zhao Feng was shocked. No wonder Ran Xiaoyuan had reached the peak 3rd rank at such a young age. Her inner skill was most likely the Heavenly Wind God technique. Behind Elder Shui, among the few disciples, there was a fair-skinned youth with a baby face. It was Sun Yuanhao, who had a changeable body. Sun Yuanhao's cultivation had reached the peak 2nd sky, and his talent was comparable to Bei Mua's. Behind Haiyun Master stood Bei Mua, Yuan Ji, Quan Chen and company. As for behind Granny Luwe, there was a pure and beautiful girl who looked very familiar. Lu Yue. Zhao Feng was slightly surprised. He didn't think that Lu Yue would be the disciple of the Grasswood Division. Lu Yue's cultivation had also reached the peak 2nd sky. With her high-tier spiritual body and Granny Luwe, the #1 pill master of the clan, she had a huge advantage. Zhao Feng standing behind First Elder also surprised Lu Yue. First Elder and the clan master had the highest status in the Broken Moon clan. Why can't I get rid of this guy? Lu Yue's eyebrows furrowed as she felt irritated. She and Zhao Feng were the juniors of Lord Sangtia and Lord Guanjuan respectively. When Lu Yu first entered the clan, she had tried to compete with Zhao Feng, but she lost every time. And now, she was the disciple of Granny Lua, while Zhao Feng was the disciple of First Elder. It was as if the latter was always stronger than her. What was even more depressing was that the latter's talent was only a low-tier spiritual body. Interesting, I can't believe I've met so many familiar people in this competition. A smile appeared on Zhao Feng's face. His eyes scanned across the familiar figures. Bei Moi, Ran Xiaoyuan, Lu Yuer, Sun Yuanhao, Xiao Sun, all of these people were here to participate in the competition for the slots. The once every 5 years floating crest competition will now begin! Vice Hall Master Li of the Central Hall yelled. His voice was as majestic as a bell. The crowd was silent. The competition was still the same as last year's 7 battles. Every participant had their own number, and they would draw lots to choose their opponent. After drawing lots, Zhao Feng returned behind First Elder. Brother Zhao, the strongest ones in this competition should be Bei Moi and Ran Xiaoyuan. As long as you don't meet either of them, you should be able to win 4 battles in a row. Yang Gan analyzed. Bei Moi was the strongest amongst the latest batch of disciples in terms of talent, comprehension, and cultivation. And now, he had reached the 3rd sky of the Ascended Realm, and he was showing signs of surpassing Hai Yun Master. As for Ran Xiaoyuan, she was a core disciple of the clan master, and her cultivation had reached the peak 3rd sky of the Ascended Realm. These two! I know them both. A weird expression appeared on Zhao Feng's face. The competition soon began. 1. On the formation platform, a layer of transparent white ripples lit up. There were already 2 disciples on the platform, and they had begun to fight. One of them was Xiao Sunday. After the Xing family mission, Xiao Sun had used his fortune to break through to the 2nd sky of the Ascended Realm. And this time, his opponent was an older disciple at the peak 2nd sky of the Ascended Realm. After exchanging 20 moves, Xiao Sun lost and left the stage. The winner would advance to the next round and fight with the other winners. The competition proceeded in an orderly manner. Bei Moi, Ran Xiaoyuan, Sun Yuanhao and the other disciples all started to fight. On the 8th round, Bei Moi appeared. Northern Dark Heavenly Water! A dark blue true force surged around Bei Moi. Like a ripple of water, it transformed into a whirlpool's shape. Like a small waterfall, it shot out tens of meters. What's going on? His opponent felt like he was suffocating and his face turned red. Wah! The disciple at the peak 2nd sky spat out a mouthful of blood. Bei Moi withdrew the dark blue whirlpool with a whoosh. Otherwise, that move just now would have been enough to crush his opponent to death. So strong! The participants were dumbfounded. Even some of the core disciples were startled. Chapter 162. Many people didn't understand how Bei Moi beat his opponent. Because from the looks of it, Bei Moi's attack didn't seem to hit his target. He made his opponent cough out blood with just his intent alone. This Bei Moi isn't the same Bei Moi from the Guanjuan Palace. Zhao Feng's expression was solemn. Bei Moi's talent wasn't just close to the earth's spiritual body, it was also his comprehension. He cultivates the northern dark heavenly water. This skill was brought out from the floating crest palace by Elder Hai Yun. Being a high-class mortal skill, not many people have managed to learn it, First Elder said slowly. Northern dark heavenly water. Xiao Feng could feel that Bei Moi's skill wasn't simple, just like his lightning wind palm. No one knew if First Elder's words were directed at Xiao Feng or if he was reminding him. Defeating his opponent in one move, Bei Moi's strength left a deep impression in everyone's hearts. It was hard to imagine how strong he was to force his opponent to cough out blood with just his intent alone. Brother Bei is indeed strong, to be able to learn the northern dark heavenly water. It looks like there's no more suspense in this competition. Quan Chen exclaimed as a hint of jealousy and helplessness flashed in his eyes. From the looks of it, it was only a matter of time before Bei Moi surpassed him and Yuan Ji. After Bei Moi appeared, Ran Xiaoyuan, Sun Yuanhao and Lu Yu all displayed their strength. Ran Xiaoyuan defeated her opponent at the peak second sky in one move. Sun Yuanhao's luck wasn't that great, his opponent was at the third sky of the Ascended Realm. After exchanging 20 to 20 moves, Sun Yuanhao also defeated his opponent easily. Although only those at the third sky of the Ascended Realm have a chance, the disciples of the elders can't be judged by normal standards, Zhao Feng thought. For example, Sun Yuanhao had excellent aptitude and comprehension. He cultivated a high-rank mortal cultivation technique and 2 middle-rank mortal cultivation techniques. With the combination of the 3, he could unleash a powerful force. Normal inner disciples would only have 1 or 2 middle-class mortal skills, and they couldn't even touch the high-class mortal skills. Therefore, Zhao Feng estimated Sun Yuanhao's strength to be at the peak third sky of the Ascended Realm. Although he was at the peak second sky of the Ascended Realm, his battle power was a full rank higher. As for Bei Moi and Ran Xiaoyuan, their strength was comparable to cultivators at the fourth sky. The 12th match, Zhao Feng vs. Luo Haiqiang. Vice Hall Chief Li's voice sounded. Zhao Feng's body was like a swimming fish. In just a few breaths, he had leaped onto the platform. His opponent was a disciple at the third sky. Of the 40 people who signed up, only a third of them had reached the third sky of the Ascended Realm. Therefore, encountering someone at the third sky of the Ascended Realm in the first round was considered unlucky. Zhao Feng's blue hair fluttered in the wind, and his only eye shone with a cold and sharp luster. "Looks like you're the man who trained the lightning wind palm." Luo Haiqiang licked his lips, his body tensed up, but he was secretly accumulating true power, not daring to be careless. A man who practiced the lightning wind palm? Zhao Feng's figure attracted the attention of many sect members. Wind rising thunder. Zhao Feng was expressionless as he thrust out his palm, his blue hair flowing like a waterfall. In that instant, a violent gust of wind blew and the sound of thunder could be heard, as if a dark cloud of lightning had struck out. Woo! Luo Haiqiang's body froze and he found it hard to breathe. It was as if he had been enveloped by a violent storm of lightning. 7 fingers of destruction. Luckily, he had already condensed his true force to the maximum, and a few arcs of purple lightning appeared on his fingertips, which had enough power to pierce through steel. Whoosh! As soon as his attack left his body, it was devoured by the violent aura of the wind-rising thunder. With a loud explosion, Luo Haiqiang was sent flying and he spat out a mouthful of blood. "You're very strong." Luo Haiqiang's face was pale white as he admitted defeat. The spectators broke out into chaos. Many people exclaimed at the power of the lightning wind palm. Winning in one move against someone of a higher cultivation. Is this the power of the lightning wind palm? Yang Gan's expression changed slightly. His control of the lightning wind palm is obviously better than Chener's and his moves are more mature. A light flashed in First Elder's eyes. First Elder had a disciple in the past, who was Yang Gan's senior brother, who trained in the lightning wind palm, but met with misfortune. After Zhao Feng won, he returned to First Elder's side and waited for the next round. Soon, all the disciples had finished the first round. Amongst them, Lin Fan had displayed great strength, easily defeating a disciple at the peak second sky of the Ascended Realm. That Zhao Feng and Lin Fan both easily passed the first round? Xiao Sun, who was below the stage, felt a sense of unwillingness and disappointment. He had entered this competition to try his luck, but he had lost in the first round. Every time he lost, the distance between him and the floating crest trial would increase. After resting for half an hour, the second round was about to begin. The competition used a promotion system, where the winner would fight against the winner. There would be a total of 7 battles. If one could win 4 battles in a row, they would be able to enter the trial. In reality, according to past experiences, not many people could win 4 battles in a row because the more they won, the more terrifying their opponents would be. None of the opponents that could win consecutively were easy to deal with. Xiao Sun lost once again in the second round, which made him almost go crazy. Lin Fan's luck wasn't good either. His opponent was a cultivator at the peak third sky of the Ascended Realm. Lin Fan is definitely going to lose this time, Xiao Sun thought, and Yan Mingxiang, who was standing next to him, also smiled faintly. However, the result was out of his expectations. Lin Fan exchanged 50 blows with his opponent, and barely won by one move. This guy actually has a high-rank mortal skill, and with a common-rank divine weapon, his strength has become so terrifying. Xiao Sun felt as if a bucket of cold water had been poured over him. Both of them had participated in missions and obtained opportunities. However, Lin Fan's growth had far surpassed his. The biggest difference was that Lin Fan had a high-class mortal skill. Logically speaking, Xiao Sun and Lin Fan didn't have enough contribution points to get a high-class mortal skill, not to mention a mortal weapon. Lin Fan and Zhao Feng have been very close recently. Regret flashed through Yan Mingxiang's eyes as she guessed the truth. Zhao Feng's reward from the last mission was much better than the others, so it wasn't hard for him to get a few weapons. Lin Fan could only improve so much with Zhao Feng's help. In the second round, Bai Moi and Ran Xiaoyuan were still unshakable, easily defeating their opponents in one move. Bai Moi and Ran Xiaoyuan are probably the strongest amongst the participants. Even cultivators at the peak third sky of the Ascended Realm wouldn't be able to take 3 moves from them. Zhao Feng isn't weak either. His lightning wind palm isn't any weaker than Bai Moi and Ran Xiaoyuan's. The crowd discussed amongst themselves. Up until now, Bai Moi, Ran Xiaoyuan, and Zhao Feng had all crushed their opponents with their strength. Amongst them, Bai Moi's performance was the most shocking. He had defeated the peak third sky of the Ascended Realm in one move. Even cultivators at the fourth sky of the Ascended Realm might not be his opponent. Some of the inner disciples were wary and fearful of Bai Moi. Most of the participants didn't want to face Bai Moi. Soon, the second round also came to an end. At this moment, there were less than 10 people who had won 2 times in a row. With the format of the competition, it was hard to win 2 times in a row without absolute strength. Soon, it was the third round. The disciples who had won 2 times in a row all felt that their opponents were hard to deal with. In the third round, Lin Fan met a strong opponent, Lu Yuer. Lu Yuer's cultivation was higher than his and her skills were also slightly better than his. But after 20 moves, Lu Yuer was at a disadvantage. After all, in terms of battle ability, she wasn't as good as Lin Fan. Wang! At this moment, the jade sword in her hand glowed brightly, and the speed and power of her sword increased dramatically. In just a short instant, Lu Yuer's attack had doubled. Middle-grade mortal weapon! Many people below the stage exclaimed in shock. I admit defeat. Lin Fan didn't waste any more time and admitted defeat. He might as well conserve his energy for the next battle. Zhao Feng vs. Sun Yuanhao. In the third round, Zhao Feng also met a strong opponent. Sun Yuanhao was the changeable body cultivator who had just entered the sect. At that time, he had been taken in by Elder Shui and trained with great care. Looking at his current achievements, Sun Yuanhao was second only to Bai Moi. After all, the latter had entered the clan a month earlier than him, and had a higher starting point. The crowd was full of anticipation for this battle. An elder's disciple meeting together would attract a lot of attention in the competition. However, the anticipated battle didn't happen. Silver Wall Technique. Zhao Feng's body shook and a layer of silver light appeared on his body. His body was perfect like a crystal and gave off a pressure. This guy's body strengthening has reached such a level. The crowd was shocked. On the spectator stand, Elder Shui's eyebrows twitched. He exchanged glances with the first elder before shaking his head and sighing. Lightning Wind Palm. With this as the foundation, Zhao Feng used Lightning Wind Palm and appeared in front of Sun Yuanhao. Boom! Pa! Bang! Zhao Feng suppressed Sun Yuanhao with lightning speed. The first move, Sun Yuanhao was pushed back and his blood boiled. The second move, his true force defense was broken. The third move, he spat out blood. I lost, but I didn't use my middle-grade mortal weapon, Sun Yuanhao said, slightly depressed. Zhao Feng's attacks were too fast, and he didn't even have time to use his middle-grade mortal weapon, or else he wouldn't have lost so badly. The third round of the competition slowly came to an end. Up until now, there were very few people who still had a winning streak. Zhao Feng looked around and saw that there were only 4 people left. They were Bai Moi, Ran Xiaoyuan, Zhao Feng, and Lu Yuer. The rest had lost to some extent. For someone like Lin Fan, who had 2 wins and 1 loss, his record wasn't bad. Many people had 2 losses and 1 win, and some even had 3 losses in a row, like Xiao Sun, who was at the 2nd sky of the Ascended Realm. It's going to be the 4th round soon. Zhao Feng was slightly looking forward to it. There were only 4 people who had 4 wins in a row. This meant that he had a 1 in 3 chance of meeting Bai Moi, Ran Xiaoyuan, or Lu Yuer. If he met Lu Yuer, Zhao Feng wouldn't feel any pressure. But if he met Bai Moi or Ran Xiaoyuan, it would be troublesome. Both Bai Moi and Ran Xiaoyuan could challenge those at the 4th sky of the Ascended Realm. The crowd rested for half an hour before drawing lots. The 4th round finally began. Although this round was not the last round, it was a very crucial round. Zhao Feng couldn't help but shake his head and sigh as he looked at the lot in his hand. His opponent wasn't Lu Yuer. Chapter 163. The 4th round attracted a lot of attention. In this round, the strongest person with 4 consecutive wins would be chosen and the winner would directly enter the Floating Crest trial. There were 4 people participating: Bai Moi, Ran Xiaoyuan, Zhao Feng, and Lu Yuer. These 4 represented the upper echelons of the clan behind them. Bai Moi represented High Yun Master. Behind Ran Xiaoyuan was a sect leader. Zhao Feng represented First Elder. Behind Lu Yuer was Granny Lu Wei. Therefore, the battle for the 4 wins wasn't only the most important part of the competition, it also represented the power of the upper echelons of the clan. Junior Marshal Brother Zhao, you must win honor from Master in this battle. If your opponent is Lu Yuer, your chances of winning will be higher. Yang Gan smiled as he patted Zhao Feng's shoulder. Lu Yuer? Zhao Feng thought in his heart that it wasn't her. The opponents were decided by drawing lots. Zhao Feng didn't even watch the first few rounds. But in the 4th round, he was familiar with any of the 3 opponents. Both Bai Moi and Ran Xiaoyuan were hard to deal with. If Zhao Feng didn't use his left eye and bloodline power, he wouldn't have the confidence to win. He could challenge those at higher cultivation, but his opponents had the same ability, and their cultivation was even higher. Sister Ran, who's your opponent? As long as you don't meet Bai Moi, there won't be a problem. Sister Yuan looked curiously at Ran Xiaoyuan. Sister Yuan didn't pay attention to the opponents in the first few rounds. But the 4th round was very important, and every opponent was extremely strong. It's him. Ran Xiaoyuan's eyebrows furrowed and her eyes were filled with worry as if she had been wronged. Him? Which one? Sister Yuan followed her gaze and saw that it was the azure-haired one-eyed youth. He isn't that perfect? Sister Ran, you have to help me teach this shameless brat a lesson. Sister Yuan was happy instead of angry. She wanted Ran Xiaoyuan to meet Zhao Feng so that he could teach that brat a lesson for her. But Ran Xiaoyuan wanted to say something but stopped. Her eyelashes trembled and her hands clenched. Right at this moment, Zhao Feng's gaze swept over. Ran Xiaoyuan's pretty face blushed slightly, her bright eyes evading his gaze as if she was a little afraid. Junior Sister Ran, you have to summon your courage. Don't be frightened by his appearance. With your strength, defeating him shouldn't be a problem. Senior Sister Yuan cheered for her junior sister. Oh? Xiao Yuan's opponent is the disciple who practices the lightning wind palm? A clear and melodious voice of a woman could be heard. It had the warmth of spring rain bathing the earth. The person who spoke was the clan master of the Broken Moon clan. Her beautiful face gave others a sense of nobility. Master, it's that kid, Senior Sister Yuan said respectfully. Hearing this, the Broken Moon clan master's eyebrows furrowed and she murmured in a low tone. Xiao Yuan's situation might be even worse than meeting Bai Moi. How was this possible? Senior Sister Yuan's face was filled with shock and disbelief. This is just my intuition. Maybe it's because he practices the lightning wind palm. The Broken Moon clan master smiled and returned to normal. The 4th round had begun. Lin Fan and Sun Yuanhao had both successfully passed. Xiao Sun, on the other hand, had already lost 4 times in a row. His face was gray and he gave up. Finally, at a certain moment, the battle reached its climax and a wave of cheers came from the crowd. The two sides were Bai Moi and Lu Yuer. Lu Yu gritted her teeth and she immediately used the power of her middle-grade mortal weapon. Crescent Moon Sword Technique. The jade-like soft sword in her hand transformed into a cold sword aura that flickered with arcs of light. Rays of sword aura were like sharp crescent moons. A layer of strange runes appeared on the soft sword and the speed and power of the sword increased dramatically. Along with her middle-grade mortal weapon, Lu Yu's attacks were enough to kill those at the peak third sky of the Ascended Realm. However, her opponent wasn't a normal cultivator at the third sky of the Ascended Realm. Northern Dark Heavenly Water Screen Water Sword. Bai Moi's face was stiff, but his hands were extremely agile as he waved them around. A layer of dark blue true force that was like a water screen quickly shuttled back and forth, forming a transparent ripple sword image that was 3 meters long and a few meters wide. Peh! 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 The rippling sword shadow, under the influence of the true power, formed a large-scale attack, and clashed with Lu Yuer's sword technique. After a series of exchanges, Lu Yuer retreated a few steps and her breathing quickened. Bai Moi stood calmly on the spot. This was the first time that Bai Moi didn't win in one move. After all, Lu Yuer's attacks were comparable to the fourth sky of the Ascended Realm with the help of her Crescent Moon sword skill and her weapon. Bai Moi was as calm as an ancient well. He pushed with both hands, unleashing wave after wave of suppressive attacks. Pun! Peh! Boom! Between the two of them, multicolored light shone brilliantly and water shadows rippled. After holding on for 10 moves, Lu Yuer was gasping for breath. Your attacks can threaten those at the fourth sky of the Ascended Realm. Unfortunately, your cultivation isn't high enough, and you can't last long with a middle-grade mortal weapon. Bai Moi's words hit the nail on the head. Lu Yuer's face was pale. Facing Bai Moi's strength, comprehension and intelligence, she had no chance. I admit defeat. Lu Yuer bit her lips as she put away her soft sword. Bai Moi! Bai Moi! After 4 consecutive victories, Bai Moi's fame rose. The middle and upper echelons of the clan nodded their heads, as if they could see the future of a new star. Unfortunately, I didn't meet a real opponent this time. When Bai Moi walked off the stage, his calm eyes looked towards a certain direction, and he radiated mental energy. Everyone looked over in shock. The target of Bai Moi's mental energy was the youth behind First Elder. It was an azure-haired one-eyed youth who gave off a wicked feeling. It's this guy again. Even Bai Moi wants to fight him. Although Brother Zhao trains the Lightning Wind Palm, he might not be Bai Moi's match. The crowd discussed. It could be imagined that with their strength, they would fight for the title of core disciple in the future, and they would meet sooner or later. Zhao Feng stood expressionlessly as he remembered his promise with Bai Moi. We'll fight after we enter the clan. A battle of strength. The battle between Zhao Feng and Bai Moi was getting closer and closer. The 4th round of the competition was still ongoing. Zhao Feng versus Ran Xiaoyuan. As soon as the words were said, the crowd went into an uproar. It was another battle of 4 consecutive victories. Zhao Feng and Ran Xiaoyuan had both won 3 in a row, and whoever won would be able to enter the trial. Sister Ran, the battle is about to begin. Zhao Feng smiled faintly. Sister Yuan gritted her teeth and said, Sister Ran, don't go easy. And I won't go easy. Ran Xiaoyuan condensed her heavenly wind true force and raised her slightly red face. Her crystal clear eyes looked straight at Zhao Feng for the first time, and she didn't back off. The young girl was still a bit young and inexperienced, but on her pure and flawless face, there was some determination and strength that she deliberately pretended to be. Zhao Feng laughed in his heart as he caught the nervousness in Ran Xiaoyuan's heart. Heavenly Wind Shadow. Ran Xiaoyuan's petite figure suddenly flashed, as if she had turned into a gust of wind and disappeared. Heavenly Wind Shadow! Zhao Feng's figure also moved weirdly. His intent and movements were exactly the same as Ran Xiaoyuan's. "What's going on?" the spectators in the arena cried out in surprise. Zhao Feng and Ran Xiaoyuan's movements and intent were exactly the same. Wind slasher stance. Wind slasher stance. The two waved their palms at the same time. In a split second, the sharp green wind was like a long and narrow blade, cutting through the air and destroying everything. This? Ran Xiaoyuan was shocked. Her eyes flickered as she looked at Zhao Feng strangely. Swirling wind stance. Zhao Feng's figure suddenly leapt into the air. His green hair danced in the wind as he followed a mysterious and natural path. A layer of green wind swirled in his palm as he pounced towards Ran Xiaoyuan. This swirling wind stance was the mysterious wind palm that he had secretly learned in the Blood Python Canyon. In the Heavenly Wind God technique, this move originated from the swirling wind stance. Swirling wind stance. Ran Xiaoyuan exclaimed as she leapt into the air and used the same move to clash with Zhao Feng. Looking at the familiar figure and actions, Zhao Feng felt a sense of familiarity. The same actions and figure had been replayed in the dimension of his left eye thousands of times. At this moment, facing this move in real life, Zhao Feng's eyes were dazed for a moment. Boom! The strong gust of wind exploded and sent Zhao Feng flying. The two had trained in the Heavenly Wind God technique and had reached the same level, but Zhao Feng's cultivation was lower than Ran Xiaoyuan's. Furthermore, there was a gap in Zhao Feng's mind. This brat's inner strength is the same as Sister Ran's. What is he trying to do? Pa! This brat even stared at Sister Ran lustfully in the middle of the battle. Sister Yuan stood on the spot and stomped her feet. The Broken Moon Clan Master's beautiful eyes scanned the two on the stage. A weird look appeared in First Elder's eyes. I admit defeat. Zhao Feng suddenly laughed as he jumped off the stage. Ah! This scene caused everyone's jaws to drop. From the start, the feeling that Zhao Feng gave them was that he was calm, emotionless, powerful, and even insane. They didn't think that he would admit defeat at this moment. You haven't lost yet, Ran Xiaoyuan reacted and said with a red face. A battle that everyone was looking forward to had ended so hastily. Brother Zhao, how can you play like this? Your personal victory is related to Master's face, Yang Gan said unhappily. Although Ran Xiaoyuan's strength wasn't weak, Yang Gan knew that Zhao Feng definitely had a chance. It's enough as long as I can participate in the Floating Crest trial. Even if I get first in the competition, it's useless if I don't gain anything from the trial, Zhao Feng said casually. The reason why he admitted defeat was because of 3 reasons. Firstly, Ran Xiaoyuan's strength wasn't weak. If he didn't use his left eye and bloodline power, it would be hard for him to win. Secondly, there was no benefit in winning 4 battles in a row. It was tiring work, and there was no reward. Of course, the most important reason was that he had a special feeling towards Ran Xiaoyuan, and he felt that he owed her a favor. Why did he suddenly admit defeat? Ran Xiaoyuan was slightly uneasy. This Zhao Feng is so cunning. He didn't even fight head-on with Sister Ran. And there's another possibility. Maybe he really likes Sister Ran, or else why would he give up the glory of winning 4 battles in a row? Sister Yuan said hatefully. The words she said to herself made Ran Xiaoyuan's face turn bright red. She lowered her head and glanced at the calm azure-haired youth from the corner of her eyes. The words and expressions of the two didn't escape the Broken Moon Clan Master's eyes. Being the Clan Master, her eyebrows furrowed. The competition wasn't the main point. With the support of the recommendation. Chapter 164. After Zhao Feng's defeat, the battle for the 4 wins in a row came to an end. Although many people were suspicious of his defeat, since Zhao Feng had admitted defeat, there was nothing they could do. The Floating Crest competition was coming to an end after 4 rounds. Bei Moi and Ran Xiaoyuan, who had won 4 wins in a row, had the right to participate in the trial. The remaining disciples would be determined through the final ranking of the competition to determine the few remaining spots. The quota for this trial was determined internally by the three great true disciples. Bei Moi and Ran Xiaoyuan had won 4 wins in a row, taking 2 spots. This meant that there were only 5 spots left. Brother Zhao, you didn't use your full strength just then and you missed a chance. If you don't put in more effort, you might not be able to participate in this trial. Being his senior brother, Yang Gan had to remind him. Don't worry, senior brother. Zhao Feng nodded his head. For the next 3 rounds, Zhao Feng had to guarantee that he wouldn't lose any of them. Only then would he be guaranteed a spot. Everything was within Zhao Feng's control. Apart from Bei Moi and Ran Xiaoyuan, no one else could fight against him. In the 5th round, Zhao Feng won in 1 move against the cultivator at the peak 3rd sky of the Ascended Realm. At this moment, the strength he displayed shocked everyone. In the 6th round, Zhao Feng's opponent was Lin Fan. I admit defeat. Lin Fan didn't want to waste his energy on Zhao Feng, so he admitted defeat. The 7th round. His opponent was Lu Yuer, whose threat was only below Bei Moi and Ran Xiaoyuan. Everyone thought that there would be an exciting battle. But who would have thought that Zhao Feng would defeat Lu Yuer in just a few moves? In the blink of an eye, Zhao Feng had won 6 battles and was ranked first amongst the remaining disciples. This Zhao Feng's strength isn't any weaker than Bei Moi and Sister Ran. He did go easy on them just then. Sister Yuan's eyes twinkled as she stared at Ran Xiaoyuan. I don't know either. Junior Sister Ran's face turned red. She shook her head shyly and uneasily. Her eyes became watery as if she had been greatly wrong. This matter has nothing to do with little Yuan. Zhao Feng admitted defeat and avoided a bitter battle. The Broken Moon clan master spoke. The competition was about to come to an end. The spots for the Floating Crest trial had been decided. Only the top 7 would have the chance to participate in the Floating Crest trial. The 7 disciples were Bei Moi, Ran Xiaoyuan, Zhao Feng, Lu Yuer, Sun Yuanhao, Lin Fan, and Qin Yu. Other than the last disciple, Qin Yu, who was at the peak of the 3rd layer, Zhao Feng was more familiar with the rest. 3 core disciples and 7 inner disciples, a total of 10 people would be participating in the Floating Crest trial in 10 days. Yang Gan, Quan Chen, Lu Hu, Bei Moi, Ran Xiaoyuan, Zhao Feng, the 10 of you will receive a chance to enter the Floating Crest trial once every 5 years. A loud and powerful voice reverberated in the central hall square. The Floating Crest tournament came to an end. The tournament only confirmed the spots. The true fortune was the Floating Crest trial. In 10 days, the 10 of you will gather here. The Broken Moon clan master's clear and gentle voice resounded. As soon as she finished speaking, the auras of the 5 cultivators at the true spirit realm shot through the air. The crowd started to drift apart, and many of the losers had dim eyes. I didn't think I would have the chance to participate in the Floating Crest trial. Lin Fan felt as if he was in a dream. Although he was once the top outer disciple, he hadn't been an inner disciple for long, and he didn't have any hopes of participating in the Floating Crest trial. However, the green-haired youth beside him had changed his fate, whether intentionally or unintentionally. Through the Xing family's mission, Lin Fan was able to use this as a springboard to break through to the 2nd sky of the Ascended Realm so quickly. Then, Zhao Feng gave him a high-class mortal skill, which made up for the difference between him and the elders and disciples. Adding on Lin Fan's own strength and hard work, he had grabbed onto this chance. Lin Fan took a deep breath and didn't say any words of gratitude, he just remembered this favor. Zhao Feng and Lin Fan returned to where they were staying. In the distance, there were 2 people walking shoulder to shoulder, Xiao Sun and Princess Yunmingxiang. Xiao Sun's eyes were filled with unwillingness, and his heart was filled with unfairness. He had forgotten that he didn't plan on entering the trial in the first place. But seeing Zhao Feng and Princess Yunmingxiang obtain the right to enter the trial, he couldn't calm down no matter what. Princess Yunmingxiang sighed in regret, but she knew it was too late. If she had maintained her relationship with Zhao Feng, she might be the same as Lin Fan right now. After returning to their place, Zhao Feng and Lin Fan didn't care about anything else as they focused on preparing for the Floating Crest trial. The 5th day. First Elder called Yangon and Zhao Feng over. Zhao Feng understood that First Elder was looking for them because of the Floating Crest trial. The Broken Moon clan's Floating Crest trial was held once every 5 years, and it had been held many times. Hai Yun Master wasn't the only one, even First Elder had participated 100 years ago. The lifespan of cultivators at the True Spirit Realm was over 300 years old, which was considered long. First Elder was around 100 to 200 years old, so he definitely had some understanding of the Floating Crest trial. The content of the Floating Crest trial has always been different. But one thing hasn't changed, which is that the longer you stay in the trial, the higher your score will be recognized by the Floating Crest Palace. At the same time, the longer you stay in the trial, the greater your fortune will be. The Great Elder gave a simple explanation. After hearing this, Zhao Feng started to think. Can it be understood as time of survival? The longer you stay in the trial, the higher your score will be? That's right. It's a competition of survival time. Whoever survives longer in the trial will be the biggest winner. First Elder revealed a look of praise. Of course, you will also face some temptations in the middle of the trial. These temptations are often accompanied by danger, and if you aren't careful, you will be kicked out. It all depends on how well you handle it. The Great Elder added. First Elder didn't say too much about the Floating Crest trial. Many things depended on strength, followed by comprehension. After saying goodbye to First Elder, Zhao Feng returned to his place. He told the situation to Lin Fan. In the last 4 to 5 days, Zhao Feng continued to cultivate. Because his silver wall technique had reached the 11th level, his cultivation increased quickly. Unknowingly, his cultivation had reached the peak second sky of the Ascended Realm. In the blink of an eye, the last 5 days had passed. On this morning, before the sun even rose, 10 disciples gathered in front of the central hall. These 10 were the inner disciples that were participating in the Floating Crest trial. Zhao Feng scanned the 10 disciples with the 3 core disciples at the center. 3 core disciples, Yangon, Quan Chen and Lu Hu. Yangon, ranked second amongst the core disciples, 5th sky of the Ascended Realm and one of the top contenders for the head disciple position. Lu Hu, ranked 7th amongst the core disciples, 4th sky of the Ascended Realm and specializes in body strengthening. Quan Chen, ranked 10th amongst the core disciples, 4th sky of the Ascended Realm and a new core disciple. The strongest was without a doubt Yangon. Many people in the clan, including First Elder, had high hopes for Yangon. Some people even guessed that Yangon's result might even catch up to Hai Yun Master, who had been the strongest in the past few decades. Secondly, Bei Moi, who wasn't even a core disciple, was also looked upon favorably by the upper echelons. Standing in the crowd, Lin Fan felt slightly uneasy. Almost all of his opponents were stronger than him. Junior Martial Brother Zhao, will your senior Martial Brother Yang take care of you in the trial? Lin Fan asked. No. Zhao Feng shook his head decisively. The Floating Crest trial was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for everyone. Everyone who entered the trial had to give it their all. Once they entered the trial, Yangon would fight for the best result and wouldn't have the time to bother with Zhao Feng. According to First Elder, the trial was filled with fortune and danger. If one wasn't careful, even someone at the 7th sky of the Ascended Realm wouldn't be able to do anything. Aren't you worried at all? Lin Fan looked at Zhao Feng's calm expression and couldn't help but admire him. Zhao Feng smiled faintly, but he didn't reply. After understanding the trial, he wasn't worried at all. With the mysterious left eye, he had great control in actual combat, and his survivability was extremely high. Competing in survival time? Zhao Feng snickered coldly in his heart as his left eye started to heat up. So, the auras of several true spirit realm experts flew through the air and floated above the central palace. Everyone raised their heads and looked up. They saw the clan master, First Elder, and the other 3 elders fly above the Floating Crest Palace. When the Floating Crest Palace was surrounded by arcs of lightning that floated in the rain, giving off an aura of a legend. Zhao Feng could sense that the lightning around the Floating Crest Palace had reached a peak, as if it had reached a saturated state. Open! First Elder exclaimed as a surge of true spirit chi appeared in his palm and a river of azure light flowed into the floating crest palace. At the same time, the Patriarch and the other 3 elders all made their moves. Their powerful true force caused the clouds to shake and the mountains to flow into the floating crest palace. The 5 true spirit realm experts all took action, causing the mysterious floating crest palace to tremble and the lightning around it to become denser. Finally, all of the lightning gathered at one point and under the guidance of the 5 true spirit realm experts, merged into the palace. When everyone could feel the air around the floating crest palace tremble, Hao Feng secretly circulated his left eye and saw a transparent ripple that merged into the space around the floating crest palace. When his left eye was opened, it could see through the blindfold, but its power was slightly reduced. However, Zhao Feng could still see that the 5 true spirit realm experts were using the ancient array to open this mysterious palace. Otherwise, just the lightning around the palace would be enough to kill those at the true spirit realm. A while later, with a hong, a door opened at the front of the floating crest palace. The inside was completely white, and even Zhao Feng's left eye couldn't see through it. The floating crest palace has opened. Everyone was excited. At the entrance of the floating crest palace, there were rows of cyan stairs. The 5 true spirit realm experts stood on the stairs and signaled the people below to come up. So, the 10 elite disciples at the ascended realm all circulated their true force and leapt onto the stairs of the floating crest palace. Standing on the stairs, Zhao Feng felt an ancient aura as he stared at the entrance of the palace. Chapter 165. The 10 elite disciples stood in a line at the entrance of the floating crest palace. The clan master and 4 elders had just opened the floating crest palace, and their auras were slightly weak. The 5 cultivators at the true spirit realm sat cross-legged at the entrance. While they were resting, their gazes landed on the 10 elite disciples with anticipation in their eyes. The Broken Moon clan master smiled and nodded her head towards Ran Xiaoyuan with a hint of encouragement. First Elder's expression was calm as he looked towards Yang Gan and Zhao Feng, especially the former. Elder Shui, Hai Yun Master and Granny Luwa also had their own disciples participating in the floating crest trial. Zhao Feng could faintly feel that this floating crest trial was a competition between the elders. Amongst the crowd, one of the 3 core disciples, Quan Chen, coldly glanced at Zhao Feng. Ever since the Xing family mission and Zhao Feng becoming First Elder's disciple, Quan Chen had been suppressing the anger in his heart. And now, his chance had finally arrived. The floating crest trial. The floating crest trial was filled with danger and fortune. In the past, there had been many deaths. More importantly, the cultivators at the true spirit realm outside the floating crest palace couldn't see what was happening inside. When the entrance of the floating crest palace shook slightly, the white entrance was a huge azure door of light that was more than 30 meters long and wide. Around a few breaths later, the azure door stabilized. The entrance is stable. After 10 people enter, the door will automatically close and the trial will begin, First Elder warned. Shwa! Shwa! Everyone understood and used their movement techniques, turning into afterimages and passing through the green door of light. Shwa! The second they passed through the azure door, Zhao Feng felt a numbing sensation spread throughout his body. In the next instant, everyone appeared in a dark space with a weird black and gold road that was tens of yards wide. On both sides of the black and gold road was an endless abyss with strong winds that could shatter metal and threaten cultivators at the 4th sky of the ascended realm. In this dark space, even though everyone had reached the transcending mortality stage and their bodies had undergone a transformation, giving them a certain level of night vision, their vision was still limited. But there was one exception, and that was Zhao Feng. The dim space had little effect on him. Why can't I move? The 10 elite disciples felt their bodies go numb and stiff. They felt like they couldn't control their bodies. Xiao! Xiao! Swoosh! In the dusky space, a few bright spots appeared and turned into 10 transparent ancient green command tokens. With a whoosh, they merged into everyone's bodies. At the same time, a harsh voice sounded in everyone's head. The floating crest trial has begun. The floating crest token will be used to calculate your results. Everyone was prepared for this before they entered the floating crest palace. According to the rules of the trial, the longer you persist, the better your results will be. The number of trials you pass, as well as your performance along the way, will affect your results. The results of the trial will determine the final reward. The stiff and mechanical voice sounded as if it was just following a rule. At this moment, Zhao Feng felt the numbness in his body gradually disappear. His body could move. First trial, Abyss Path of Death, time limit 3 days. The stiff voice said the last sentence before disappearing. Everyone stood on the black gold road, not knowing what to do. The black gold road was made of a tough material that gave off a cold feeling. With everyone's strength, it was hard to damage it at all. On both sides of the road was an endless abyss. The wind howled and changed at any moment without any pattern. Zhao Feng analyzed if they jumped into the abyss, apart from the 3 core disciples who could resist for a while, everyone else would be ripped to shreds. The only safe place was the black gold road. Not knowing why, Zhao Feng felt a chill down his spine as he felt a sense of danger coming from behind him. Kung! Kung! King! From the darkness behind the black gold road came a soul-shaking sound. At the same time, a terrifying aura filled the area. What is that? Everyone, including the 3 core disciples, looked behind them, but they could only see a giant blurry figure. Oh my God! Zhao Feng looked back, and his heart shook in shock. Go! Without saying anything else, Zhao Feng messaged Lin Fan and ran towards the black gold road. Lin Fan didn't have any suspicions as he followed Zhao Feng and ran. Quan Qin and company were puzzled, but the sound of heavy metal footsteps came closer and closer. The terrifying aura made it hard for them to breathe and their blood froze. Of the 10, a few instinctively followed Zhao Feng. Kung! King! From the endless darkness, a giant golden-black monster that was 30 feet tall walked out. It was as tall as a 3-story building, and its eyes glowed with a dark green light. It seemed like it had just opened, and the light was growing brighter. A pair of metal wings extended from the back of the black metal monster, and its entire body was surrounded by a layer of dark green light that enveloped a radius of 100 feet. What monster is that? Everyone's heart shook. Everyone run! This black gold monster's aura is comparable to an expert at the true spirit realm. Yang Gon exclaimed. Even someone as strong as him, who had reached the 5th sky of the ascended realm, had no way of fighting back against an existence at the true spirit realm. There was only one outcome for anyone who faced the black gold giant monster: instant death. Yang Gon didn't dare doubt this, and Zhao Feng didn't dare doubt it. Zhao Feng's eyesight was the best, and he immediately saw the black gold monster's aura. Therefore, he didn't hesitate to run. Run forward. There was no path of retreat. Behind them was the black gold monster that could instantly kill everyone, and on both sides was the abyss. There was only one path of survival. So the 3 core disciples were the fastest, and they circulated their true force to reach the front in the blink of an eye, leaving Zhao Feng and Lin Fan behind. Lin Fan's expression changed, but there was nothing he could do. Among the 10 challengers, the 3 direct disciples had the most profound cultivation foundations. Kung! Kung! King! The sound of metal footsteps came from behind. It seemed like the black gold monster was only walking quickly, but its speed wasn't slow either. Every step it took covered 10 meters. The heavy footsteps and the terrifying aura of the true spirit realm caused everyone's hearts to tremble with fear. Once this monster catches up to us, we'll all be instantly killed. Quan Qin was filled with fear, and he didn't have the time to scheme against Zhao Feng in this situation. Despair. Despair of death. Everyone tensed up and ran at full speed. Brother Zhao, why aren't you running faster? Lin Fan and Zhao Feng jumped shoulder to shoulder, and found that the latter's speed was neither fast nor slow. Zhao Feng's eyes were sharp and his expression was calm as he looked behind him and said in a low tone, Didn't you hear the notification? The first trial abyss of death has 3 days. Lin Fan paused for a moment before his expression changed dramatically, and he took in a cold breath. Can you maintain full speed for 3 days? Xiao Feng said calmly. No, I can only maintain full speed for 4 hours at most. Lin Fan shook his head. If one used the body lightning technique, the speed of those at the ascended realm could reach several times that of horses. However, maintaining full speed consumed a lot of energy. On the other hand, the first trial had 3 days. The floating crest trial won't send a monster at the true spirit realm to kill us. Otherwise, do you think we'd have a chance to escape? Xiao Feng continued to ask. No chance. Lin Fan didn't hesitate. Facing someone at the true spirit realm, they had no ability to fight back. If the 10 of them stood together, an expert at the true spirit realm would be able to instantly kill them all. The black metal monster's speed is only at the second sky of the ascended realm. As long as we are faster than it and don't get caught up, we'll be fine. We need to maintain our strength and persevere for 3 days. That's the way to go. Xiao Feng revealed the answer. His eyesight was the best, and he could estimate the black metal monster's speed. Thinking back to the restriction of the first trial, he came up with this conclusion. The black metal monster was comparable to those at the true spirit realm in every aspect. The only restriction was its speed. A speed close to the second sky of the ascended realm was slower than any other participant. No wonder! Lin Fan immediately controlled his speed to conserve energy. At the same time, he couldn't help but respect this youth who was much younger than him. Xiao Feng's calmness and analysis had reached an unbelievable level. Come! Come! King, the sound of the heavy metal footsteps became smaller and smaller. Xiao Feng and Lin Fan maintained their speed and were only slightly faster than the black metal monster. As time passed, even if they were slightly faster, the distance between them would increase. A couple of hours later. Hu! Sun Yuanhao and Lu Yu sat on the metal path in front of them. Running at such a high speed took a lot of energy out of them. The two of you ran so slowly, but the black metal monster didn't catch up? Lu Yu's eyebrows furrowed as she said in shock. We only need to be a little bit faster than the black metal monster. And it won't be long before that big guy catches up. Xiao Feng smiled faintly. After a short pause, he and Lin Fan continued on their way, as if they were just sightseeing along the way. That works? Lu Yu and Sun Yuanhao looked at each other in disbelief. But not long later, heavy metal footsteps came from behind them. Run! The two looked at the huge black figure behind them, and the terrifying aura made their blood freeze. The first stage of the trial, Death Abyss Path, had a time limit of 3 days. Half a day passed. The disciples who were running for their lives not long later used up a lot of their energy. Although everyone had spirit pellets that could replenish yuan qi and physical strength, the strain on their bodies and the loss of their profound qi could not be completely recovered. Furthermore, recovery spiritual pills were effective for a short period of time, but they weren't suitable for continuous use. Xiao Feng and Lin Fan were the first to discover the black metal monster's pattern. They controlled their speed and energy, using the smallest price to achieve the greatest effect. The other disciples ran at full speed for a while before stopping to rest. But just when they recovered their energy, the black metal monster caught up again. Of course, they weren't idiots. They gradually discovered the black metal monster's pattern and adopted a corresponding strategy. Death Abyss Path. The second day. Some disciples were already feeling tired. After all, the black metal monster didn't know fatigue, and they were made of flesh and blood. They needed rest and replenishment. At this time, Xiao Feng discovered that the scenery on both sides of the abyss had changed. In the dark abyss, there were some floating boulders that didn't fall due to the astral wind. At first, Xiao Feng didn't understand. Later on, he realized that there was a tattered wooden house in the area of several floating boulders, and inside lay a skeleton. The skeleton in the wooden house had existed for a long time, but its whole body was glowing with a faint luster. Beside it were some miscellaneous things, a pile of primordial crystal stones, a broken bamboo sword, a jade pendant, a few ancient books. The three core disciples were standing there, watching the battle. Chapter 166. Xiao Feng estimated that the wooden house was around 100 yards away from here, with an abyss in the middle. Under normal situations, those at the third sky of the ascended realm or higher wouldn't be able to fly, but flying 100 yards in the air wasn't a problem. But above the abyss, the wind was so strong that normal cultivators at the third sky of the ascended realm wouldn't be able to last a few breaths before being torn to pieces. At this moment, the three core disciples stood at the edge of the black and gold road, but none of them dared to make a move. Xiao Feng's left eye contracted and he instantly closed the distance of 100 yards to inspect the skeleton and the parts around it. This skeleton has existed for a long time, but it's still glowing. Its cultivation when it was alive was probably at the true spirit realm or higher. Xiao Feng's eyes twinkled. He wasn't the only one who saw this. The three core disciples also knew this point. The items left behind by a true spirit realm cultivator definitely weren't simple if they weren't damaged after so many years. Broken bamboo sword, jade pendant, ancient book, the materials of these items were extremely unique and they didn't rot like the skeleton. If I can get the items next to the skeleton, even if I can't pass the trial, it's worth it. Given the age of the corpse, the items left behind might be spirit cultivation techniques and spirit divine weapons. Quan Chen's face was filled with excitement and greed. Everyone was looking forward to the items next to the skeleton. Xiao Feng's left eye saw more clearly and he came to a conclusion. 1. The broken bamboo sword should be a damaged spiritual grade weapon, and even if it had lost its spirituality, it was still comparable to a peak mortal grade weapon. 2. The jade pendant was smooth and crystal clear, and there seemed to be a unique power flowing on it. This should be a unique treasure, and even if its value wasn't as high as a spiritual grade weapon, it wouldn't be too far off. As for the two ancient books, there was no way to guess, but judging from the cultivation of the skeleton when it was alive, the skills recorded within should be at least peak mortal grade. If he could get these items, it might be even better than getting first in the trial. Even Xiao Feng looked forward to it. But as his eyes twinkled, Xiao Feng sighed and said in a low voice, "Let's go." Lin Fan didn't hesitate and left with Xiao Feng. After entering the trial, Lin Fan listened to Xiao Feng. Indeed, even someone at the fourth sky of the ascended realm doesn't have the confidence to fly to the opposite wooden house and escape unscathed. Lin Fan thought about it carefully. Even those at the fourth sky of the ascended realm only had a 20% chance of success. Yang Gan, who had the highest cultivation, might have a 30 to 40% chance, but that would depend on the changes in the astral wind. If the astral wind was at its strongest, he would have no chance at all. My goal is to be number one in the trial and surpass Hai Yunjinren, who participated decades ago. Yang Gan's eyes became determined. He didn't linger and flew away. Quan Chen and Lu Hu, the two core disciples, also sighed and left. Most of the disciples would hesitate for a moment in front of the opportunity before them before leaving with great difficulty. As elite disciples, they were able to maintain their rationality and restrain their desires. This was because the probability of obtaining those fortuitous encounters was simply too low. Those below the fourth heavenly layer basically had no chance. Along the way, floating boulders appeared one after another on both sides of the abyss path, and from time to time, fortuitous encounters appeared on the opposite side. At a certain moment, a garden appeared on the opposite side of the abyss. It was filled with dense yuan qi and legendary treasures could be seen with the naked eye. Spiritual fragrance fruit, it can increase one's body. Those below the seventh sky of the ascended realm will increase their cultivation by 1 every time they eat one. Lu Yu recognized one of the fruits and exclaimed, Moon Dragon Sprout, it said that it can change one's body and give them the strength of 9 bulls and 2 tigers. There's even a chance to obtain the special abilities of the ancient races. Xiao Feng stared at the garden in front of him, and he couldn't help but take a deep breath. The temptation was too great. There were many treasures in this garden that had the ability to change one's fate. For example, the mysterious left eye could change Zhao Feng's fate. Zhao Feng even found some materials that could be used to refine spiritual pills that could increase one's spiritual body talent. This was something that could change one's fate. The temptation in the garden was far greater than the previous fortuitous encounters. If he could enter the garden, he could change his fate and even break through to the true spirit realm in the future. Spiritual fragrance fruit! Scarlet dragon fruit! A disciple at the peak third sky of the ascended realm said with greed in his eyes. This person's name was Qinyu, and he was the only person that Zhao Feng wasn't familiar with. Tongue! Qinyu shouted and activated his true power. His body was surrounded by a red wind wave, and he leaped into the air, hovering above the abyss. The wind above the abyss fluctuated and Qinyu's face was bright red. He risked his life and flew 10 to 20 yards in the air as the layer of true force around him shattered. Ah! Qinyu screamed as he fell into the abyss and disappeared. This scene alarmed the other trial takers nearby. Qinyu's cultivation is at the peak third sky and he only flew 10 to 20 yards, not even 1/5 of the distance. Zhao Feng's expression was solemn. His cultivation was lower than Qinyu's and his true force couldn't be as thick as the latter's. Let's go. One of the core disciples, Lu Hu, shook his head and left. Originally, Lu Hu had thought that since he was at the fourth sky of the ascended realm, his body-strengthening skills weren't bad. But after seeing what happened to Qinyu, Lu Hu was sure that he would only last 40 to 50 yards before falling into the abyss. Let's continue. Everyone sighed as they put away the greed in their hearts, and continued on their way. Come! Come! King, behind them, the black metal monster chased after them tirelessly. It didn't need to rest or replenish its energy. Even though they were fast, they needed to rest and replenish their energy from time to time. I only have a 30% chance. Zhao Feng's eyes twinkled as he stared at the garden in front of him, but he gave up in the end. The floating crest trial was long and there would definitely be more opportunities to choose from. The first trial wasn't just a path of death, it was also a path of temptation. Floating Crest Palace, entrance. 1. The green door of light flashed, and an ancient green halo shot out from it. So fast? The 5 elders who were guarding this place were quite surprised. The light dimmed and a figure appeared. Qinyu. What's going on inside? Why did you come out so fast? Elder Shui asked in a low tone. Qinyu's face was ashen as he recounted everything that had happened to Zhang Xian. You're an inner disciple, why couldn't you resist the temptation? Granny Luwa had a disappointed expression. It's not all his fault. The difficulty of this trial seems to be higher than the previous ones. They were even chased by a true spirit realm monster. The temptation on the road is too big. The Broken Moon Clan Master's voice was as gentle as the sound of nature. The harder it is, the greater the reward. Unfortunately, this brat didn't even pass the first trial, so there's no reward. Luckily, this is a righteous trial. If it was a demonic trial, how could he have come out alive? First Elder faintly smiled. The elders didn't have much reaction towards Qinyu's failure. After all, their disciple was still in the trial and hadn't been kicked out. In the blink of an eye, 2 days had passed in the trial. Come! Come! The black metal monster chased after them relentlessly, even though its speed wasn't fast. Most of the disciples had to use their willpower and pills to last until now. The most relaxed person was Yangon. Yangon's cultivation was the highest and his speed was several levels higher than the black metal monster. Even Quan Chen found it hard to keep up. The other disciples under the fourth sky of the ascended realm had to squeeze out all of their potential in order to endure the pursuit of the black metal monster. Everyone finally understood that the first trial, the Abyss of Death, was to be chased for 3 days and 3 nights with many temptations on the way. There's still half a day left. Everyone, hold on. Yangon was far ahead and he circulated his true force to encourage everyone. This was all he could do. Once the giant black metal monster caught up, even he would be killed instantly without any suspense. Yangon's gaze landed on his only junior brother, Zhao Feng. Zhao Feng's breathing quickened, but his expression was calm. He seemed to be more relaxed than most of the others. On the other hand, Lin Fan was dripping with sweat as he squeezed out all of his potential. Yang Gan was extremely surprised. Zhao Feng and Quan Chen's cultivation was the lowest, but they were still able to last until now. This was especially so for Zhao Feng, who was more relaxed than most. There was only half a day left before they could pass the first trial. At this moment, the temptations on both sides were getting closer and closer. Before, the treasures were 100 yards away, but now, they were at most 70 to 80 yards away, or even 50 to 60 yards away. But after 2 days of running, most of them were running out of stamina. Furthermore, as the difficulty of the treasures decreased, the value of the treasures also decreased. The greater the treasure, the greater the risk. Now that the treasures have decreased, the risk has also decreased. Zhao Feng nodded his head in his heart. While running, his left eye didn't forget to inspect the treasures and analyze their success rate. However, most of the treasures had a success rate of less than 50%, and the treasures weren't as tempting as before. At a certain moment, the scene on the other side of the abyss suddenly changed. 20 to 30 feet away, an antique pavilion with a radius of about 40 to 50 feet appeared. From within the pavilion came the sound of a lute, and a stunning beauty was sitting there. The girl's skin was white, her eyebrows were like stars, and her hair was like a waterfall. Her every frown and smile made her look like a goddess, but she also gave off an alluring aura that could make one lose their soul. Such a strange scene caused the trial disciples to be on their guard. But when their eyes met the beauty, they were stunned, and a feeling that they had never felt before struck their bodies and souls, making them unable to pull themselves back. This treasure was only 20 to 30 yards away, and the wind around it was relatively weaker. Everyone's heart skipped a beat. Quan Chen, Lu Xiaohu, and Sun Yuanhao's eyes were filled with infatuation. What was even weirder was that even Lu Yuer and Ran Xiuyuan were dazed as they looked in front of them. Amidst the melodious sound of the zither, almost no one could completely resist the charm of the classical fairy. Within the crowd, only Zhao Feng wasn't affected, and his eyes twinkled as he looked in front of him. The first to react was Yang Gan. Next was Lin Fan and the others, who gritted their teeth and stood still. Zhao Feng had a look of praise on his face. He didn't think that Lin Fan's willpower was even stronger than Quan Chen's. Boom! Yang Gan's roar was like thunder, which made everyone come back to their senses. Brother Yang, it's only 20 to 30 yards. Should we give it a try? Quan Chen suggested. The ancient goddess in the pavilion was simply too beautiful. She was practically a goddess. 20 to 30 yards is the closest distance so far. Zhao Feng's eyes squinted as he estimated the value of the treasures and the success rate. Chapter 167. The Abyss of Death. In the dark space, on the other side of the abyss where astral winds howled, the beautiful and otherworldly fairy gently stroked the pipa, producing a melodious and pleasant sound. Her beauty was enough to make one suffocate. Her face was like a flawless piece of jade, as if it had been sculpted perfectly. However, there was a hazy feeling to it, and every frown and smile of hers gave off a fatal aura. In anyone's eyes, she was the most perfect image. Even under Yang Gan's scolding, Quan Chen and the others were still dazed and didn't want to give up on this fortune. So beautiful, but it's too weird. Lin Fan's face turned red as he thought about how dazed he was just then. Looking around, he found that Zhao Feng's expression was calm as usual, as if he wasn't affected at all. It was as if Zhao Feng didn't have any abnormalities from start to finish. Lin Fan couldn't help but admire him. He didn't know if Zhao Feng's willpower was too strong, or if he had a problem with his sexual orientation, or if he hadn't learned anything about relationships yet. Shut up! Yang Gan took a deep breath and tried his best not to look at the beauty in front of him as he coldly glanced at Quan Chen and the others. This girl is not normal to appear in such a desperate situation. Maybe you've already fallen into her trap. Hearing this, everyone came back to their senses. The floating crest palace was isolated from the outside world and only opened once every 5 years. The absolute beauty that appeared in this trial was extremely abnormal and incomparably strange. Everyone broke out in cold sweat and didn't dare to look at the beauty. Of course, only Zhao Feng was an exception. He smiled as he admired the beauty in front of him. Sister Lu, what did you just see? Zhao Feng looked at Lu Yu with a mischievous expression. Lu Yu's face went red as she felt guilty. Everyone who saw the scene in the pavilion was the perfect image in their hearts. What men saw were beauties, and what women saw were handsome men. Although the fortune here is close, I advise everyone to give up. We'll pass the first trial soon, and according to previous experiences, as long as we pass the first trial, we'll get some rewards at the end. Yangon said to everyone. Then, without looking back, he turned into a ray of purple light and flew forward. There should be a powerful psychic illusion in that pavilion. We fell for it just now. If I were to be affected by the illusory mental energy during my flight, I'm afraid. Bei Moi left decisively with a cold expression. Everyone was slightly reluctant, but they also knew that the pavilion in front of them was strange and terrifying, so they could only give up and continue forward. Even Quan Chen clenched his teeth and moved his gaze away from the girl. Junior brother Zhao? Lin Fan suddenly realized that Zhao Feng was standing at the same spot and had no intention of leaving. You go first. Maintain a normal speed and pass the first stage, Zhao Feng said calmly. Lin Fan was shocked, but he didn't question Zhao Feng's words, and quickly left. Zhao Feng was the only one who remained motionless. Senior brother Zhao. A soft voice like that of an ant came from the front. Zhao Feng glanced sideways and saw that it was Ran Xiaoyuan, reminding him worriedly. I'm fine, you go first. Zhao Feng faintly smiled, glanced at her, and then calmly looked forward. Ran Xiaoyuan clenched her fists, and her eyelashes trembled, as if she was worried that Zhao Feng would be tempted by the girl in the pavilion. And from Xiao Feng's expression, he didn't seem to have any intention of paying attention to her. Tongue! Zhao Feng's figure suddenly leapt into the air, and like a fish, he soared through the air toward the pavilion. No! Ran Xiaoyuan exclaimed as her face lost all color. Every fortune on the Black Gold Road was accompanied by danger, and the scene in the pavilion was even weirder. No one dared to try it. Hoo-hoo, in the sky above the abyss, a strong gust of wind that was enough to destroy metal swept towards Zhao Feng. Oh my God! Junior brother Zhao has been hit. There were a few disciples nearby who saw Zhao Feng's crazy actions. Apart from Ran Xiaoyuan, there was also Lu Hu, Lu Yuer, and Sun Yuanhao. What a profound movement skill! One of the three core disciples, Lu Hu, revealed a surprised expression. Zhao Feng's body was surrounded by a layer of green wind, as if he had merged into the wind and was like a fish, passing through the cracks, avoiding the strong resistance, and using the force to pass through. In the blink of an eye, Zhao Feng had flown tens of feet. At this time, the pavilion suddenly changed. The girl slowly stood up and smiled towards Zhao Feng. That moment of beauty was enough to move one's soul, causing Lu Hu and the others who were already hundreds of feet away to be unable to pull themselves back. Imagine, how bad would it be for Zhao Feng, who was in the air, to suddenly face such a situation. This was the bad situation that Bei Moi had predicted before he left. Hee, very beautiful. Zhao Feng, who was in midair, laughed mockingly as he continued to fly through the air, completely unaffected. The beauty in the pavilion was surprised. She didn't think that a brat who hadn't even reached the third sky of the ascended realm would be able to resist her mental energy. Tongue! Zhao Feng's figure landed on top of the pavilion. This scene caused Lu Hu and the others nearby to be shocked. Husband! The classic beauty revealed a charming smile and affectionately smiled. She actually began to take off her clothes. Her skirt gently fell off, revealing her snow-white skin. The beautiful fairy slowly took off her clothes, revealing her perfect body. This was a seductive moment. Fuck off! A cold light flashed in Zhao Feng's eyes as he kicked out. With a ping, the beauty that was taking off her clothes was kicked into the air by Zhao Feng and smashed into a pillar. You! The face of the beauty turned pale white as she spat out a mouthful of blood. Ah! This scene caused the jaws of the people on the other side of the abyss to drop. This Zhao Feng was too savage. So, the beauty suddenly turned into a wisp of purple smoke. Everyone's vision blurred, and in the next moment they saw a purple fox trembling in a cage in the pavilion. The pavilion, the pipa, and the trapped fox. This scene made everyone feel weird. So it's an illusion fox. This is a Yao beast that has surpassed deadly beasts. Lu Hu exclaimed. In the mortal world, deadly beasts were terrifying beings. However, vicious beasts had a ferocious nature, but not a spiritual nature. Some were infected by the heaven and earth yuan qi and mutated. There were also many that had a thin demonic beast bloodline in their bodies. True demonic beasts possessed higher intelligence, and possessed the bloodline of ancient races. They were superior to ferocious beasts, and could even cultivate on their own. The lower-tier deadly beasts that had appeared in the Guanjuan province city were the weakest of beasts, comparable to those at the Ascended Realm. On the Azure Flower continent, there were a few powerful beasts that had the power to flip oceans and seas. They could easily lead an army of deadly beasts to destroy a few countries. Of course, the world of Yao beasts had its own system and maintained a balance with the clans. This illusion fox's cultivation has probably reached the fifth sky of the Ascended Realm. Wariness appeared in Lu Hu's eyes. The fifth sky of the Ascended Realm was comparable to Yangon, who had the highest cultivation. However, the illusion foxes specialized in mental energy illusions, and even Yangon wasn't able to completely block their mental energy illusions. He could still fall for them while crossing the abyss. Brat, I'll tear you into pieces! The illusion fox gritted its teeth and said. If it wasn't for the fact that it was in a cage, it could instantly tear apart a human at the second or third sky of the Ascended Realm. Zhao Feng didn't bother with it, and walked to the stone table in the middle of the pavilion. Apart from the pipa, there was also a plate of fruits, a flask of wine, and a bracelet. Zhao Feng picked up a fruit and sniffed it, trying to discern its medicinal properties. That's right, it should be the purple spiritual fruit. It can recover one's energy. Zhao Feng put away the 4 to 5 fruits on the plate. As for the flask of wine, Zhao Feng smelled it, and joy appeared on his face. This should be a low-grade spiritual wine that can help those at the Ascended Realm recover their energy. Gulu. Zhao Feng took a small sip of the spiritual wine and felt the true force within his body surge as his mental energy and stamina quickly recovered. The fatigue from the past 2 days of running had vanished without a trace. Instead, he felt energized, and his cultivation even showed signs of increasing. Lastly, there was a bracelet on the stone table. Zhao Feng picked it up and laughed. It's an interspatial bracelet. The lowest grade interspatial items in this world are comparable to high-grade mortal weapons. This bracelet was an interspatial item, and its value was much higher than everything else on the stone table combined. What? An interspatial bracelet? Lu Hu and the others on the Black Gold Road were shocked. The lowest grade interspatial bracelet is comparable to a high-grade mortal weapon. Lu Hu's voice trembled slightly as greed appeared in his eyes. A high-grade mortal weapon or item could easily cost millions of substandard primal crystal stones, and tens of thousands of low-grade primal crystal stones. Furthermore, interspatial items were extremely rare. Zhao Feng picked up the interspatial bracelet and merged his consciousness into it, feeling a space of around 1 cubic meter. Shwa! Shwa! The purple spiritual fruit and wine flask disappeared into the space of the interspatial bracelet. Interspatial items are indeed amazing. Zhao Feng was overjoyed. He couldn't help but rejoice that he had read a lot of books about natural treasures after joining the sect, so he wasn't lacking in the general knowledge of the sect world. Finally, Zhao Feng's eyes twinkled as he put the pipa on the stone table into the interspatial bracelet. That pipa was a middle-grade mortal weapon. Zhao Feng had already seen it with his left eye when he was on the opposite side of the road. But musical weapons were useless to him, and he wasn't interested in them. Instead, he could go to the outer disciples and exchange them for a considerable amount of primal crystal stones to pay off his debt to old Zhang. He might even be able to buy the Luoho arrow. "Kid, don't be arrogant!" The illusion fox in the cage roared with all its might and was furious at Zhao Feng for ignoring it. It used a series of mental illusions on Zhao Feng. But Zhao Feng had a strong resistance against mental illusions and ignored them. As soon as the pavilion appeared, Zhao Feng had seen through the true body of the classical beauty, so he wasn't affected at all. Tongue! Zhao Feng's figure was like a fish as he flew into the atmosphere above the abyss, and in a few breaths, he returned to the black and gold road. On the black and gold road, Ran Xiaoyuan's mouth was slightly open in shock. "Brother Zhao, you've gained a lot. You won't take all the treasures for yourself, right?" Lu Hu laughed as he didn't hide the greed on his face. A surge of true force condensed in his body, and his iron-like muscles radiated a terrifying aura. The pressure he gave off was much stronger than those at the fourth sky of the ascended realm. Being one of the three core disciples, Lu Hu's forte was body strengthening, and he was stronger than Quan Chen's. "You dare to attack me?" Zhao Feng's soul was filled with coldness, and his azure hair moved without any wind. Chapter 168. On the Black Gold Road. Zhao Feng and direct disciple Lu Hu faced each other from a distance. "You dare make a move against me?" Zhao Feng was cold and powerful. His azure hair fluttered without any wind, and his single eye flashed with coldness. Ran Xiaoyuan's expression changed. Her figure flashed and stood beside Zhao Feng. Sun Yuanhao didn't seem to be able to react and was at a loss. The atmosphere was oppressive. Lu Hu's expression changed as he suddenly remembered that Zhao Feng had the Great Elder behind him. Furthermore, Ran Xiaoyuan stood on Zhao Feng's side at the crucial moment. Ran Xiaoyuan was the sect leader's direct disciple, and her strength was on the same level as Bei Moi. Zhao Feng's lips curled into a smile. He knew that Lu Hu was just trying to get a share and didn't dare to make a move. "Brother Zhao, I'll help you too." Sun Yuanhao had a baby face and a smile on his face, looking innocent. At this moment, Ran Xiaoyuan and Sun Yuanhao both stood on Zhao Feng's side. In this kind of situation, even if Zhao Feng's group didn't have any backing, Lu Hu would still have to think twice. "Hand over the storage bracelet." Lu Hu's expression was uncertain, but he suddenly gritted his teeth and a powerful true force surged towards Zhao Feng's group. What is he trying to do? Zhao Feng's heart jumped. He didn't think that Lu Hu would still dare to make a move in this kind of situation. No! There's a problem somewhere. Zhao Feng suddenly thought of something and glanced at the pavilion opposite him. The eyes of the illusion fox in the cage were glowing with a strange, transparent purple light, and the corners of its mouth curled up into a mocking smile. Lu Hu's eyes were filled with greed, completely blinding his reason. He originally had greed in his heart, but the illusion fox's mental illusion easily magnified his greed by 10 times. "I actually forgot about this fox spirit." Zhao Feng's expression turned cold. He could only block Lu Hu first. Lu Hu's cultivation was at the 4th rank and his body training was not bad. He was stronger than Zhao Feng. Wind and thunder annihilation. Zhao Feng didn't hesitate to attack. He pushed his heavenly wind god technique and silver wall technique to the extreme and barely blocked Lu Hu's frenzied attacks. Pun! Zhao Feng took a few steps back after taking the attack head-on. Without using his left eye and bloodline power, he was at a slight disadvantage in front of Lu Hu. "Senior brother Zhao, hand over the storage bracelet." A young man's cold voice came from the side. "What?" Zhao Feng felt a strong gust of wind as someone pounced on him from behind. His expression changed drastically. The person who attacked was Sun Yuanhao. "Ha!" Lu Hu laughed maniacally, and his attacks became even fiercer. Seeing that Zhao Feng was about to face a pincer attack, if he didn't use his trump card, he would also be in danger. "Stop!" Ran Xiaoyuan shouted. Her beautiful figure flashed and blocked Sun Yuanhao. Pun! Sun Yuanhao was forced back by Ran Xiaoyuan's move. Zhao Feng couldn't help but break out in cold sweat. Luckily, Ran Xiaoyuan wasn't affected by the illusion fox's illusions. One had to know that Ran Xiaoyuan's strength was on the same level as Bei Moi, which was comparable to the fourth sky of the ascended realm. If he was surrounded by 3 people, even if he used his bloodline power, he would only be able to run away. The reason why the illusion fox's illusions could affect Lu Hu and Sun Yuanhao was because they were greedy and also because of their willpower. As for Ran Xiaoyuan, she didn't have any greedy thoughts, so she obviously wouldn't attack Zhao Feng because of this. Ran Xiaoyuan had successfully suppressed Sun Yuanhao, and the situation wasn't that bad. But it was extremely difficult for Zhao Feng to win against a core disciple at the fourth sky of the ascended realm. It wasn't easy for him to stay undefeated. This is the only way. Zhao Feng had a plan in his heart. Shua! Zhao Feng's figure flashed, leaving behind a series of afterimages. His body was like a swimming fish, agile and illusory. Under Lu Hu's offensive, he retreated in an orderly manner. In terms of body strengthening and cultivation, Zhao Feng wasn't as good as Lu Hu. But in terms of movement, Zhao Feng was better. Lu Hu was blinded by greed and he didn't realize that Zhao Feng was closing in on Ran Xiaoyuan and Sun Yuanhao. I'll take care of you first. Zhao Feng's speed rose dramatically and he turned into several blurs as he disappeared from Lu Hu's attack range. In the next instant, he appeared next to Sun Yuanhao. Sun Yuanhao was already being suppressed by Ran Xiaoyuan, and he was caught off guard by Zhao Feng's sudden attack. Lightning Wind Palm. Zhao Feng thrust out his palm, causing the wind to howl and thunder to howl. Wah! Sun Yuanhao barely managed to block the palm, but he spat out a mouthful of blood as he retreated to the edge of the abyss. Fuck off! Zhao Feng kicked Sun Yuanhao into the abyss of howling wind. Ah! Sun Yuanhao screamed in pain as he fell into the abyss. Brother Zhao, you killed him! Ran Xiaoyuan's face was pale and she didn't know what to do. Zhao Feng's strategy was to quickly take care of the weaker Sun Yuanhao, and then team up with Ran Xiaoyuan to deal with Lu Hu. His will is weak and his mind was affected by the illusion fox. Kick him out first. Zhao Feng didn't look guilty at all. Sun Yuanhao looked like a baby, but he didn't expect him to be so cunning as to pry into his storage bracelet. Floating Crest Palace, at the entrance of the stairs. The 5 elders were sitting cross-legged. 1. The cyan door of light suddenly lit up, and a figure rolled out. Another person out so quickly! Hai Yun Master's heart jumped as he looked at the figure and let out a breath. Yuanhao! Elder Shui exclaimed as he looked at the pale Sun Yuanhao. First Elder and the others looked at each other. The person who was kicked out was Elder Shui's disciple, Sun Yuanhao, who had a variant spiritual body. Yuanhao, what happened? Why did you come out so quickly? Elder Shui asked in a low voice. It's Zhao Feng. He took all the treasures for himself and kicked me into the abyss. Sun Yuanhao's face turned red as he said unwillingly. Even now, his mind still hadn't calmed down after being affected by the illusion fox. How dare this? This Zhao Feng dared to attack a fellow disciple. Elder Shui was enraged. The Floating Crest trial was held once every 5 years and every disciple only had 1 chance. Sun Yuanhao's talent was exceptional and he was even younger than Zhao Feng. He had a lot of potential and if this trial went well, he would definitely improve by leaps and bounds. However, this hope was destroyed by a low-tier spiritual body cultivator. Is there a misunderstanding here? The first elder said in a low voice. He knew that although Zhao Feng looked arrogant, he was actually very calm. Zhao Feng trains the lightning wind palm, so his heart might be more extreme and he can't be compared to normal people. Hai Yun Master's lips curled up. Hearing this, the clan master, Granny Lu Wei and Elder Shui all nodded. We'll find him after the trial. Don't worry, First Elder, we'll leave this matter to the Enforcement Division. Elder Shui took a deep breath and suppressed the anger in his heart. If it wasn't for the fact that Zhao Feng's master was First Elder, he would have exploded already. Wangulu! Another figure rolled out from the green door of light. So fast. The five at the true spirit realm were shocked. How long had it been? How could another person be eliminated? The elders looked over and saw that the person eliminated this time was core disciple Lu Hu. What happened in the trial? Even a core disciple was eliminated so quickly. The clan master and company had solemn expressions. Lu Hu, how come you're also eliminated so quickly? The Broken Moon clan master asked. They were all familiar with Lu Hu. Being a core disciple, he was the disciple of the Enforcement Division Elder. In the sect, the Enforcement Elder's status was almost on par with the sect leader and Grand Elder, and he held great authority over the laws of life and death. It's Zhao Feng. He took all the treasures for himself and kicked me into the abyss. Lu Hu gritted his teeth and said. Just like Sun Yuanhao, he had just come out and hadn't completely escaped from the mental energy influence of the illusion fox. It was Zhao Feng again. The five elders and clan master were filled with anger and shock. The floating crest trial was a great fortune not only for the disciples, but also for the clan. But now, Zhao Feng had kicked a disciple with a changeable body and a core disciple out in just half the time it took to make tea. Furthermore, the method was the same, kicking the opponent into the abyss. This Zhao Feng is too damn. The few elders looked at each other with a hint of anger in their eyes. With your strength, how could you be defeated by Zhao Feng? First elder found the suspicious point. Of the three core disciples that entered the trial, Lu Hu's strength was only below Yanggan. This is because of Sister Ran, Lu Hu said hatefully. What does this have to do with Little Yuan? The Broken Moon clan master's eyebrows furrowed. In her eyes, Ran Xiaoyuan had always been a good and obedient child. Sister Ran helped that bastard Zhao Feng, or else I wouldn't have lost and been kicked into the abyss. Lu Hu yelled as he clenched his fists. How was this possible? The expressions of the clan master and the four elders changed. Indeed, Ran Xiaoyuan's strength was the same as Bei Moi, and she could fight against those at the fourth sky of the Ascended Realm. If she teamed up with Zhao Feng, they might be able to defeat Lu Hu. But why would Ran Xiaoyuan help Zhao Feng? Could it be? The Broken Moon clan master suddenly remembered what had happened in the placing competition. At that time, Zhao Feng had purposely lost to Ran Xiaoyuan. Thinking back to the conversation between Ran Xiaoyuan and Sister Yuan, the Broken Moon clan master's expression made the others guess, and they soon thought back to what had happened in the competition. This Zhao Feng has led an innocent child like Xiaoyuan astray. The Broken Moon clan master's face was cold, and anger appeared on her holy face. At this point in time, the elders were stunned and speechless. In the end, they all reached an agreement. This Zhao Feng must be severely punished. On the Black Gold Road. Boom! Zhao Feng sent Lu Hu flying with a kick and wiped the sweat on his forehead. This Lu Hu isn't a normal kind of troublesome person. It's all thanks to Sister Ran's help, or else it would be extremely hard to beat him. They've all been. Ran Xiaoyuan's eyes were red as she said with a sobbing tone. She had attacked just then because she wanted to help Zhao Feng and was afraid that he would be bullied. Who would have thought that both Sun Yuanhao and Lu Hu would be kicked into the abyss by Zhao Feng? Zhao Feng felt sorry for them in his heart, and felt slightly guilty. In this matter, he had indirectly used Ran Xiaoyuan to drag this innocent girl into the water. Relax, there's a weird array in the abyss. Falling in won't kill them, but they'll be sent out. They'll just be kicked out. Zhao Feng comforted. With his powerful left eye, he knew the situation very well. Tongue! Zhao Feng's figure flashed, and he appeared in the pavilion on the other side. What are you doing? The illusory fox in the cage roared in anger. What am I doing? It's all because of you. Zhao Feng ignored the illusion fox's mental energy attack and kicked out. Boom! After Sun Yuanhao and Lu Hu, another beast was kicked into the abyss by Zhao Feng. Chapter 169. After kicking the illusion fox into the abyss, Zhao Feng felt a sense of satisfaction, as if he was addicted to it. But he understood that the elders guarding the floating crest palace would have a bad impression of him after he kicked Sun Yuanhao and Lu Hu out. Both Sun Yuanhao and Lu Hu were backed by elder-level experts. Luckily, Zhao Feng had dragged Ran Xiaoyuan into the water, so there would be a witness. In the clan world, everything depends on strength. What can those elders do to me when I achieve a result that makes me stand above the rest? Zhao Feng's figure flew through the air and returned to the black and gold path. Even a core disciple at the fourth sky of the ascended realm would feel tired after flying through the air twice to resist the wind. Luckily, Zhao Feng had some low-tier spiritual wine in his interspatial bracelet, and after drinking a mouthful, he felt full of energy and his cultivation rose. Clang! Clang! Suddenly, the sound of heavy footsteps came from behind and a terrifying aura came from a giant figure in the darkness. Not good, run! Zhao Feng saw the winged black metal monster with his left eye and immediately told Ran Xiaoyuan to run. The two sprinted and finally escaped from the shadow of the black metal monster. Being at the first stage, they would be enveloped by the shadow of death if they wasted even a moment. After leaving the safety zone, Ran Xiaoyuan was unhappy and her eyes were misty. Sister Ran, what's wrong? Zhao Feng asked in surprise. It's all my fault. I harmed senior brother Lu and the others. Senior sister is right, you're not a good person. Ran Xiaoyuan sobbed as she ignored Zhao Feng and turned into the wind, running further and further away. Zhao Feng shook his head and didn't chase after her. He maintained a certain speed and continued forward. Half a day later, the black and gold path seemed to have come to an end. At the end of the black and gold path was a large green door. In front of the door, there were 5 or 6 people sitting cross-legged, including Yang Gan and Bai Moi. After being chased for 3 days and 3 nights, any disciple would be exhausted. Brother Zhao, you're finally here. Lin Fan let out a breath. He had been worried about Zhao Feng on the way here. Now that Zhao Feng had returned safely, it meant that he had obtained the fortune. Eat this purple spiritual fruit first. Zhao Feng handed him a fruit. Lin Fan consumed the spirit fruit and instantly felt energized. His essence chi instantly recovered and he even felt his cultivation level increasing. On the way, Zhao Feng had drunk the low-grade spiritual wine and eaten the purple spiritual fruit, which made his state even better and his cultivation had reached the peak second sky. The floating crest trial is indeed full of fortune. I thought I would need a month to reach the peak of the second sky, but now it's only 3 days. Zhao Feng rejoiced in his heart. His eyes flickered as he saw Ran Xiaoyuan, who was meditating at the side, and he gave her a purple spirit fruit. Brother Lin Fan. Ran. Junior brother Zhao, it seems like you've stumbled upon a fortuitous encounter. Not only are there spirit fruits, you even managed to get your hands on a storage bracelet. Quan Chen asked as he stared at Zhao Feng's bracelet. His words attracted the attention of the others. Even Yang Gan looked at Zhao Feng with twinkling eyes. I was just lucky. Zhao Feng didn't plan to hide it. His storage bracelet was very convenient to use. Without the influence of the illusory fox, even if the few of them were greedy, they wouldn't dare to make a move openly. They waited for a while more. Clang! Clang! A terrifying sound came from the darkness in the distance. The black iron colossus had arrived. Everyone was shocked. However, the ancient green door behind him had yet to open. At this moment, in everyone's mind, a voice sounded out. The first trial. Death Abyss Road. Time limit, 3 days. Those who successfully pass will receive 30 trial points. Boom, then, the ancient green door opened, and the black metal monster that was chasing after them suddenly froze, as if it had been petrified. Senior brother Lu and junior brother Kong didn't pass the first test? Yang Gan glanced at the crowd and said in surprise. Sun Yuanhao wasn't a big deal, but Lu Hu was a core disciple and his strength was second only to him. Senior brother Lu and junior brother Kong fell into the illusion of the illusory fox and fell into the abyss. Zhao Feng explained. Yang Gan and Quan Chen's eyes were filled with doubt. especially Quan Chin, who sneered coldly. The two brothers fell into the abyss and only you got the treasure? Zhao Feng harumphed coldly and ignored him. This attitude made Quan Chin furious. This Zhao Feng was so arrogant. He had only entered the clan for a few days and he already dared to ignore him. Thinking back, he didn't even pay attention to this ant when he charged into the Guanjuan palace, defeated Lord Guanjuan, and took Bai Moi away. When did this ant rise to such a level? Although there was still a gap between them, there was one thing that Zhao Feng didn't care about. We'll talk about this after the trial ends. Everyone try your best, there is no second chance of the Floating Crest trial. Yang Gan looked deeply at Zhao Feng and ended the conversation. Some. So, the group of 7 entered the green door under the instructions of the voice in their minds. Second trial, Lost Bat Cave. Requirement, walk out of the cave alive in 5 days. The faster you finish, the higher your score. The next instant, the group entered a dark cave. The cave was still dark, and the faint screams of bats could be heard from inside. Inside the bat cave, the 7 disciples felt a cold aura, making them feel uneasy. Everyone be careful, this cave is probably more dangerous than the first trial. Yang Gan warned as he led the way. Zhao Feng scanned the surroundings with his left eye. Under his left eye, all the hidden dangers were revealed to Zhao Feng. The second trial is called Lost Bat Cave, Lost. Zhao Feng noticed the word lost. He analyzed that the terrain of the second trial would be very complicated and dangerous. Yang Gan, who had the highest cultivation, had strong senses and he could smell the danger within the cave. Follow me closely and don't stray more than 10 yards. Zhao Feng said to Lin Fan. Lin Fan nodded his head. He could also feel the danger of the second trial. The group of 7 formed a small group and walked into the cave. But before they even walked tens of yards, a fork appeared in front of them. Fork, which way should they go? Yang Gan felt a headache coming on. It seemed that it wouldn't be easy to walk out of the cave. A smile appeared on Zhao Feng's face. A virtual map appeared in his mind, and he clearly remembered the route he had just passed. The virtual map was exactly the same as the real map. Even the shape of the path and the structure of the walls were the same. All the paths they had walked were scanned into Zhao Feng's mind. The areas that they hadn't walked through were dark, which represented the unexplored areas. With this ability, no matter how big the maze was, Zhao Feng would be able to solve it. Therefore, he wasn't worried at all and acted as if he was on a tour. Zhao Feng's expression and actions were unfathomable in Lin Fan's eyes. This brother Zhao is too mysterious. It's as if the Floating Crest trial is his backyard. Lin Fan could only sigh and be speechless. Facing the fork, Yang Gan suggested, "How about this, Brother Quan Chen and I will each form a group. It's best if we leave some marks on the way." No one objected to his suggestion. Yang Gan and Quan Chen were the only 2 core disciples left and had the right to lead the group. After some discussion, Yang Gan, Bai Moi, and Lu Yu would form a group of 3. Quan Chen, Zhao Feng, Lin Fan, and Ran Xiaoyuan would form a group of 4. Zhao Feng didn't have any objections, but the coldness in Quan Chen's eyes became even thicker. As soon as the 2 groups split up and entered the fork, the wind howled and the screeching of bats flew out from the forks. Zhao Feng's supervision saw the black bats with weird blood tattoos on their bodies and red eyes. The screeching of these black blood bats made everyone feel uneasy. With screeches, more than a dozen black blood bats charged toward Zhao Feng in company from one of the entrances. Go! Quan Chen's palms slashed out a few silver arcs, and he instantly killed 3 black blood bats. These black blood bats were mostly at the first or second sky of the Ascended Realm. Amongst the tens of black blood bats, there was a leader at the 3rd sky of the Ascended Realm that let out a terrifying sound wave. Lin Fan's blood boiled as he barely managed to block it, and he slashed down a black blood bat with a blade in his hand. Zhao Feng thrust out 2 palms and killed a few black blood bats. After a while, the few of them joined forces and killed almost all the black blood bats. But the bat leader at the third sky screeched as it flew into the air and was about to escape. So, a dark green arrow flashed like lightning and pierced into the abdomen of the bat leader. Plop! The corpse of the bat leader fell to the ground. The group glanced over and saw Zhao Feng slowly put away the Luohe Bao. The power of the Luohe Bao didn't disappoint Zhao Feng. He had only injected a small amount of true force into it, and it was enough to kill the bat leader. The bat leader's speed was extremely fast. If he had used the Golden Stairs Bao from before, it would have been difficult to catch up to the target. It was very likely that the bat leader would have been able to dodge. After killing the bat leader, the group split into two groups and continued forward. As they moved forward, the map in Zhao Feng's mind expanded. But as the map expanded, so did the area of darkness. Zhao Feng's expression became solemn. This cave was bigger than he had imagined. Not long after, a few more bats leapt out from the cave. Most of them were at the first sky of the Ascended Realm, but there were a few at the second sky. The second test requires us to walk out of the cave within 5 days. Facing so many monsters in an unknown environment will tire us to death, Zhao Feng analyzed. In just half an hour, Quan Chen's group of 4 had been attacked by nearly 100 bats. Everyone take a rest. Quan Chen sat down cross-legged with an exhausted expression. The group of 4 rested on the spot. Zhao Feng, Lin Fan and Ran Xiaoyuan were in a good state. After eating the purple spiritual fruit, their inner energy had recovered and they were full of energy. The remaining energy from the purple spiritual fruit could last for 1 to 2 days. See! In the dark cave, a shadow that was as thin as a rope suddenly leaped out and merged with the environment. What's that? Quan Chen felt a pain on his waist, as if he had been bitten. Shwa! A gray poisonous snake dodged the rebound of Quan Chen's true force and disappeared in a flash. Not good! It's a poisonous snake! Quan Chen cried out in pain as the area where he had been bitten turned purple and his body went numb. At this point in time, cold sweat appeared on his forehead and he was in pain. Lin Fan and Ran Xiaoyuan both trembled. Is it this snake? Zhao Feng had a smile that didn't seem like a smile as he held a gray snake in his hand. Chapter 170. The snake was 3 feet long and slightly thicker than a thumb. At this moment, it was struggling in Zhao Feng's hand, and every time it moved, it contained a powerful force that could strangle a cultivator at the first sky of the Ascended Realm to death. But Zhao Feng's fingers were like pincers that locked onto the snake's weak point, stopping it from struggling. Hurry up and kill it! Not good! The poison in my body! Quan Chen's face was green as he sat cross-legged on the ground and started to force out the poison. Lin Fan and Ran Xiaoyuan both looked weirdly at Zhao Feng. The dark gray poisonous snake was silent, and it was hard to detect. Even Quan Chen was affected by it. Although Quan Chen was careless and he was tired, he could still see how terrifying the snake was. Zhao Feng, on the other hand, seemed to have been prepared and easily captured the snake. Lin Fan even suspected that Zhao Feng had already found the snake, but he didn't warn Quan Chen on purpose. Haha, it's a gray shadow snake. This snake is a Yao beast and its poison has a numbing effect. Within half an hour, the poison will spread throughout the body and even those at the Ascended Realm will lose control of their body until they starve to death. Zhao Feng smiled faintly. Hearing this, Quan Chen's face turned gray and he immediately ate an antidote, but the effect wasn't good. Zhao Feng's actions were gentle as he pinched the snake to death and took out the snake's gall. The snake's gall was bitter and spicy, but after it entered his body, a weird burning sensation spread throughout his body. This snake's gall has a special power that can strengthen the body and condense true force. There are indeed treasures everywhere in the Floating Crest trial. Zhao Feng licked his lips as if he was enjoying it. Being the publicly recognized pill-refining genius of the clan, he naturally knew about poison. Brother Zhao, you're a pill-refining genius. You definitely know how to cure this poison. Quan Chen squeezed out a smile. There's no cure. Zhao Feng shook his head and looked at Quan Chen as if he was looking at a dead man. He didn't care about Quan Chen's pleas and curses anymore as he walked around. Moments later. Where do you think you're going? Zhao Feng's figure flashed, and he nimbly caught a gray shadow viper. Like before, Zhao Feng took out the snake gallbladder and swallowed it. The gallbladder of the gray shadow venomous snake could indeed strengthen the body and condense true force, which could help stabilize Zhao Feng's cultivation in preparation to break through to the third sky of the ascended realm. Lin Fan and Ran Xiaoyuan's faces were filled with shock. The gray shadow venomous snake was extremely adept at concealing itself and blending into its surroundings. Zhao Feng actually managed to kill the snake again. A while later, the snake venom in Quan Chen's body was slowly dispelled. How dare you lie to me? Quan Chen was exasperated. With his cultivation at the fourth sky of the ascended realm, he could easily cure the poison. It seemed that Zhao Feng's words were just to scare him. I didn't lie to you. This snake's poison doesn't threaten cultivators at the fourth sky of the ascended realm, so there's no need for an antidote. Zhao Feng's smile was playful. It was actually very easy to cure the gray shadow venomous snake, and there was no need for an antidote. As long as one was at the second sky of the ascended realm, they would be able to cure the poison by boiling their true force and blood. As for this, Zhao Feng only told Lin Fan and Ran Xiaoyuan. Out of all the cultivators that entered the cave, only Zhao Feng knew a bit about medicine. Of course, there was another person who might know medicine as well. And that was Lu Yuer. Her master, Granny Luwe, was the top pill master of the clan. Who knew how much Lu Yuer had learned from her? Let's go! Quan Chen's expression was ugly, but he couldn't do anything. In this kind of environment, Zhao Feng was like a fish in the water, and he was more used to surviving than him. From the looks of it, Lin Fan and Ran Xiaoyuan seemed to listen to Zhao Feng a lot. For the next day and night, the group of 4 explored the labyrinth-like cave. Along the way, they would be attacked by black blood bats every once in a while. Apart from that, there were other dangerous Yao beasts hiding in the cave, such as gray shadow venomous snakes, demonic spiders, and even giant pythons. Zhao Feng was able to control the danger ahead of them, but he didn't warn them. He would only occasionally cover for Lin Fan and Ran Xiaoyuan. Quan Chen was exhausted after suffering so much. On the other hand, Zhao Feng and company weren't injured as much, and they were like fish in the water. On the way, Zhao Feng killed many gray shadow venomous snakes and ate their gall bladders. Unknowingly, his true force and body had been refined to the extreme, and he had the conditions to break through to the third sky of the ascended realm. Therefore, he decided to give some of the snake gall bladders to Lin Fan. Lin Fan had eaten the spiritual fruit, and now he had eaten the snake gall bladders, which made his cultivation close to the peak second sky of the ascended realm. This Zhao Feng is too weird. Quan Chen's hairs stood on end. In this kind of environment, not only was he unable to scheme against Zhao Feng, he was the one who suffered the most. Luckily, with his cultivation at the fourth sky of the ascended realm, he was able to survive most of the dangers. Quan Chen made up his mind to separate from Zhao Feng. Why was it that he was always the one who suffered the most? This was too much of a coincidence. He felt that he had been tricked by Zhao Feng. This way, we've been here before, Zhao Feng suddenly said as he pointed at a fork in the road. On the way, Zhao Feng kept on perfecting the map in his mind. Up until now, he hadn't walked through the entire Bat Cave. But Zhao Feng analyzed that he should have walked a third of the way, and he should be able to find the exit in another day. Brother Zhao, your memory and reaction speed are both extraordinary. How about this, you lead the way? Quan Chen said, pretending to be generous. Sure, Zhao Feng agreed. He had a map in his mind, and if he led the way, he would be able to find the exit. The result was that Zhao Feng's path had a high chance of meeting black blood bats. The further they went, the more bats there would be. Zhao Feng felt uneasy. Could it be that there was a bat nest in the unexplored area? Just as he was thinking, a loud screech came from the area ahead. So, the sound of air being sliced could be heard from the gaps in the cave. Retreat! Lao Feng's expression changed. Just as he moved, a sharp screech came from the front. The high frequency of the screeches contained a power that could attack one's mental energy. Everyone felt their blood and chi churning. Their minds were in pain, and their eardrums were aching. Blood started to leak out from their nose and ears. In the next instant, a dense swarm of black blood bats, more than 100 of them, pounced on the 4 of them. The Bat King in the lead had a wingspan of 20 to 30 feet, and its entire body was covered in dark red patterns. As it flew, dust swirled around it, and a chilly wind blew. The Bat King let out a sharp screech, causing the few of them to lose control of their true power and chi. Furthermore, some of the bats had reached the peak 3rd sky of the Ascended Realm. The Bat King's cultivation was probably close to the 5th sky of the Ascended Realm. Looking at the group of bats, Zhao Feng's scalp went numb. Luckily, the Bat King's sound wave attack couldn't affect his mental energy. The 4 were surrounded, and they tried their best to fight. At this moment of danger, the group all used their attacks. Lightning Wind Palm. Zhao Feng thrust out his palm, causing lightning and wind to dance. Each palm could kill a few bats. Wave Reverse Blade Technique. The long blade in his hand slashed out quickly, and waves of air enveloped the nearby black blood bats. Quan Chen's cultivation was the highest, and he teamed up with Ran Xiaoyuan to fight against the Bat King. The Bat King let out a series of screeches, and the sound waves were ear-piercing. Even with Quan Chen and Ran Xiaoyuan teaming up, they weren't able to take it down in a short amount of time. On the other hand, there were more and more black blood bats nearby, and each of them had a cultivation of at least the 1st sky of the Ascended Realm. Break! Quan Chen suddenly pulled out an ancient bronze sword from his waist and slashed out a 10-yard-long crescent moon. The powerful sword aura spread out like a tornado. With one strike, he killed more than 10 bats. He also left a deep gash on the Bat King's body, revealing its bones. The terrifying power of the sword forced the Bat King to retreat. Middle-grade mortar weapon. Zhao Feng was slightly surprised. It was also a middle-grade mortar weapon, but in the hands of Quan Chen, who was at the 4th sky of the Ascended Realm, its power was 1 to 2 times stronger than Lu Yuer's. Good chance. Kill the Bat King! Zhao Feng's eyes lit up. Run! But Quan Chen suddenly turned around and he slashed out with his sword, then he ran towards a corner. Run? Quan Chen's actions surprised Zhao Feng. If Quan Chen and Ran Xiaoyuan had lasted a bit longer, they could have definitely killed the Bat King. But what Zhao Feng didn't know was that Quan Chen wanted to separate from Zhao Feng's group. Run in different directions. In front of the countless bats, Zhao Feng made his decision. There were a few forks in the road nearby. Quan Chen chose one. Ran Xiaoyuan also chose one. Because Lin Fan remembered Zhao Feng's words, the two chose the same path within 2 yards of each other. Quan Chen and Ran Xiaoyuan are both disciples of the clan master and elder respectively, so they have their own trump cards. Zhao Feng thought, and he left with Lin Fan, not bothering with Ran Xiaoyuan. The swarm of bats soon split into 3 groups. The injured Bat King led a group of people and charged towards Quan Chen. The other 2 black blood bats at the 3rd sky led a group of bats towards Ran Xiaoyuan. Zhao Feng and Lin Fan were unlucky. A total of 4 bats at the 3rd sky led a large group of black blood bats towards the 2. It was obvious that because there were more people here, there were more bats chasing after them. So unlucky! As soon as Zhao Feng and Lin Fan ran out of the cave, they realized that they were in a dead end. There were 70 to 80 bats chasing after them, and 4 of them were at the 3rd sky of the Ascended Realm. Brother Zhao, don't worry about me. Kill your way out. Lin Fan knew that Zhao Feng was strong, and as long as he didn't meet the Bat King, he should be able to escape easily. There's no chance. Zhao Feng stood still and shook his head. 70 to 80 black blood bats sent out sound waves that shook the mountain. The 4 bats at the 3rd sky of the Ascended Realm at the front combined their sound waves and created a powerful mental energy attack that enveloped the 2. The stack sound wave attack was something that even cultivators at the 4th sky of the Ascended Realm couldn't block. Plop! Lin Fan started to bleed from his orifices and he instantly fainted. Sure! Zhao Feng stood at the center of the sound wave attack and he circulated his true force to block his ears. The mental energy attack didn't affect him at all. Within the dimension of his left eye, the azure abyss continued to spin and absorb the mental energy attack. Zhao Feng slowly took off his eye patch and his azure hair danced in the wind. Mental energy assassination. A sharp and glaring cyan eye, like a dark demonic eye in the starry night sky, emitted an ancient aura that made one shudder. Chapter 171. Inside the dark cave, the densely packed black blood bats screeched and screeched. The earth-shattering sound waves superimposed on each other and formed a terrifying mental attack. The walls of the cave shook and dust flew everywhere. Even core disciples at the fourth sky of the ascended realm would die under this situation. In the middle of the bats, a figure with azure hair danced in the wind like a king. The mental energy attack was like a stone sinking into the ocean. The aura of the green-haired man suddenly soared to another level. His left eye shot out a sharp and frightening green transparent light, which formed a ring-shaped beam and swept in all directions. Instantly, the surrounding bats revealed extreme fear in their eyes. They flapped their wings in the air, trembling incessantly. The black blood bats that were inches away froze in midair, as if they had been petrified. Poof! 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 Some of the weaker bats fell from midair with blood flowing from their nose and ears as they struggled on the ground. Most of the black blood bats trembled in midair, and they didn't dare to get close to Zhao Feng. The only ones that could barely resist were the 4 bat leaders at the third sky of the ascended realm. Amidst their fear, they instinctively sent out waves of mental energy sound waves. Zhao Feng circulated his left eye and an azure light flashed in his eye. Within the dimension of his left eye, the azure abyss continued to provide mental energy for Zhao Feng. Zhao Feng could feel the strong mental energy contained within the azure abyss. But he could only use a small portion of it, and he didn't know how to use it. But even then, the mental energy attack from his left eye shocked the black blood bats. These bats are born with the ability to use mental energy sound waves. Zhao Feng's left eye became even sharper. The next instant, the body of a bat leader faded, revealing the organs, blood vessels and Yao power. Looking through the bat leader's body, Zhao Feng saw a faint red source of mental energy the size of a grain of rice. This was a mental energy that surpassed the physical level and normal people wouldn't be able to sense it. But Zhao Feng's left eye could clearly see the source of mental energy, and how to use it. It was far weaker than his azure abyss. Mental power, emitted at a special frequency similar to sound waves. A frequency diagram formed in Zhao Feng's mind. The theory behind the black blood bat's use of sound waves was quickly copied into the dimension of his left eye. Although the structure of a bat's body was different from that of a human's, the origin of the spiritual domain was the same. Pop! Zhao Feng circulated his true force and spat out a bizarre sound wave in the shape of a ring, which contained a trace of spiritual attack. Puff! 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 A large number of black blood bats fell from the sky, bleeding from all 7 orifices. The black blood bats below the third sky of the ascended realm couldn't defend against this mental energy sound attack. This sound wave attack contains the vibration of true force, and with the addition of the spirit attack, it forms a large area attack. It is indeed effective against these bats. Zhao Feng's face revealed a hint of joy. The blood vessels and internal organs of the bats that fell from the sky were shattered. The mental impact destroyed their intelligence. Even if they didn't die, they would be crippled. After a mental sound wave, 20 bats landed on the ground. When Zhao Feng opened his mouth to release the second wave, the swarm of bats scattered in fear, leaving behind a dozen dead or injured bats. Even the 4 black blood bats at the third sky of the ascended realm ran away in fear. Where do you think you're going? Zhao Feng snickered coldly as he took out the Luoho bow. An azure light flashed in Zhao Feng's left eye and the power of his archery skill increased dramatically. Bun! So! A few dark azure arrows shot out in an unbelievable arc and pierced through 4 black blood bats at the 3rd sky of the ascended realm at a terrifying speed. The Luoho Bao's attack speed was extremely fast, it could even surpass the speed of sound, but Zhao Feng could only use a portion of its power. But even then, the black blood bats had no way of dodging. When Zhao Feng put away the Luoho Bao, not a single one of the nearby bats could be seen. Zhao Feng shook his head as he put on his eye patch. The mental energy soundwave attack he had used just then started from sound, and even with the eye patch on, it didn't affect him much. Through this battle, Zhao Feng had reached the threshold of the mental energy domain. Instinct told him that this method of using mental energy hadn't dug out the true power of his left eye. What's going on? The nearby bats are all running away as if they've lost their minds. A ruffled and beautiful girl walked into a cave near Zhao Feng, her face filled with fear. The girl was Lu Yue. The team she was in had encountered a large number of bats not long ago. Yang Gon had lured away the strongest bat king and a large number of bats, while the others scattered and escaped. Lu Yue had finally escaped, but she met another group of bats that were enough to threaten her life. Luckily, the bats seemed to be in extreme fear and they ran away like headless flies. After walking another tens of yards, Lu Yue looked at the corpses of the bats below her feet. Some were completely dead and some were bleeding from their orifices, but they were still struggling. Lu Yue's heart shook. When had there ever been such a terrifying person amongst the disciples who could kill so many bats with an invisible method? The dead bats on the ground didn't have any obvious injuries, but their organs and meridians had been shattered, and those that were still alive were all in a daze. Sister Lu. A clear and cold voice came from the dead end of the cave in front of them. It's you, Brother Zhao. Lu Yue jumped up in fright, but she let out a breath after seeing who it was. Zhao Feng sat cross-legged on the ground, as if he was recovering, but from the true force circulating around his body, it seemed like he was cultivating. Lin Fan, who was beside Zhao Feng, had already woken up and was recovering. These bats, they're all your, Lu Yue said carefully. Around Zhao Feng, there were many corpses of bats. Nearby, there were 3 to 4 bat leaders that had been pierced through by arrows. Zhao Feng didn't reply, he just focused on cultivating and circulated his heavenly wind true force to the maximum. His inner force was at a high level and the purity of his true force was comparable to the 4th sky of the ascended realm. In terms of body, his silver wall technique had been trained to the highest level. After drinking spiritual wine, eating spiritual fruits and eating the gray shadow venomous snake's gallbladder, his body had reached the peak of the 2nd sky of the ascended realm. In that moment of danger, Zhao Feng had defeated the black blood bat and his potential had been squeezed out, allowing him to step half a foot into the 3rd sky of the ascended realm. Now, Zhao Feng sat cross-legged and circulated his heavenly wind god technique. The true force in his body continued to rise, both in strength and quantity. To increase the speed of his breakthrough, Zhao Feng would drink a small mouthful of spiritual wine every few hours. The spiritual wine was extremely useful for those below the 4th sky of the ascended realm, and it was also very useful for him to break through. Lin Fan sat on the side and looked at the azure-haired youth with a complex expression. After fainting, Lin Fan didn't know what happened. When he woke up, Zhao Feng was completely unharmed, but the ground was littered with the corpses of bats. Wasn't this similar to what happened in the Scarlet Moon demonic cave? Zhao Feng didn't leave immediately. Instead, he sat on the ground to raise his cultivation. Half a day later, Zhao Feng had broken through to the 3rd sky of the ascended realm and a raging aura radiated from him. There were 7 sky of the ascended realm, and every sky of the ascended realm meant that one's cultivation would be suppressed by those with a higher cultivation. This was the difference between the two. At this moment, Lin Fan and Lu Yue, who were standing next to Zhao Feng, felt an unknown pressure. Lu Yue's expression was slightly complex. At this moment, Zhao Feng had completely surpassed her. Although Lin Fan and Lu Yue had both reached the peak 2nd sky of the ascended realm, they didn't have what it took to break through to the 3rd sky. Alright, let's go. Zhao Feng slowly stood up, his eyes sharp and his aura wild as he led the way. Lin Fan followed closely behind Zhao Feng. "Why are you walking so fast?" Lu Yue was slightly surprised. In Zhao Feng's current situation, he was practically rampaging through the place without fear. Even the group led by Yang Gon had to be careful of all kinds of threats. "You can follow me or you can go alone." Zhao Feng didn't care about her objections. Lu Yue clenched her teeth and after a slight hesitation, she decided to follow Zhao Feng. In Zhao Feng's mind, there was a complicated map that was being perfected. The reason why he was walking so fast was because he wanted to complete the map and get out of this maze. Not long later, a group of bats appeared in front of them. There were around 20 of them. This group of bats was enough to pose a threat to the three. Lin Fan and Lu Yue had wary expressions. "Bo!" Zhao Feng opened his mouth and the bats in front of him screeched in fear and fell to the ground with a pu sound. Some died, some ran away. "Oh my God!" Lu Yue and Lin Fan looked at each other with shock and they found it hard to breathe. Zhao Feng didn't do anything, but he just opened his mouth and the bats all fell to the ground and some of them ran away in fear. After reaching the third sky of the Ascended Realm, the azure abyss in Zhao Feng's left eye had expanded to 3 feet and his mental energy source had become stronger. After that, Zhao Feng continued to walk in the bat cave. Those bats were suppressed by his psychic sound waves. Every batch that came was killed, and most of them fled in panic. There was once when hundreds of black blood bats came and the Bat King at the 4th sky of the Ascended Realm led them. In the end, Zhao Feng used his mental energy sound wave to kill many bats and even the Bat King was killed by his Luoho Bao. Out of all the participants, Zhao Feng was the first to break through the black blood bat's human wave tactic. Ignoring the human wave tactic, Zhao Feng's mental energy source was extremely strong, and he had the spiritual wine to replenish it. Lu Yue and Lin Fan were both shocked and numb. At this point in time, Zhao Feng was invincible in the Bat Cave and he was like the Lord of the Night. As time went on, the map in his mind became more complete. At last, Zhao Feng finally found a path that he had to pass through, which was the core of the Bat Cave. On the 3rd day of the second trial, a large entrance appeared in front of them and it was pitch black inside, like the mouth of a giant beast. Yang Gon, Quan Chen, Bei Moi and Ran Xiaoyuan all stood at the entrance, and there were many bat corpses nearby. "You guys came at the right time. The Bat Cave's main camp is in front of us, and there are many extinct resources inside." Yang Gon was slightly surprised to see Zhao Feng and company. He originally thought that Zhao Feng and company wouldn't be able to escape unscathed. This was especially so for Lin Fan and Lu Yue, as their cultivations were relatively low. But looking at the current situation, the three seemed to be very relaxed. Lin Fan and Lu Yue were like 2 guards as they stood beside Zhao Feng. Chapter 172. A total of 7 disciples gathered in front of the entrance of the bat's nest. As expected, the difficulty of the second trial was obviously higher. None of the 7 who entered the cave were eliminated, nor were there any deaths. The weird thing was that Zhao Feng and the other 2 who seemed to be the weakest seemed to be very relaxed. Instead of tiredness, they seemed to be full of energy. "Brother Zhao, you've broken through?" Yang Gon realized the change in Zhao Feng's aura. Zhao Feng had just broken through not long ago, so his aura was wild and he didn't hide it. Bei Moi and Quan Chen's expressions changed slightly as they looked at each other. Both of them had complex expressions on their faces as they felt an unknown pressure. For Bei Moi, the difference in cultivation between him and Zhao Feng was almost negligible. Bei Moi was filled with battle intent. Since Zhao Feng's cultivation was similar to his, they could have a fair fight. Bei Moi was very confident in his own strength. He hadn't used his full strength in the competition. "We can't let him leave the Floating Crest Palace alive." Quan Chen's expression was dark and wary. He had a feeling that if he didn't take care of Zhao Feng soon, he would be a great threat to them in the future. There were many fortunes in this trial. My breakthrough was very smooth. Xiao Feng said calmly. Those who had made it this far had all improved, and Xiao Feng wasn't the only one who had received fortunes. But Xiao Feng had improved the fastest, followed by Bei Moi and Lin Fan. Good, with the combined strength of the 7 of us, we should be able to break through the bat's nest. I have a feeling that once we get through this, it'll be much easier to get out of the bat cave. Yang Gan started to plan. Xiao Feng understood that there were thousands of bats in the cave, and they were all at least at the first sky of the Ascended Realm. Bei Moi said to the group, "According to my investigation, there's a Bat Emperor at the 6th sky of the Ascended Realm. Apart from that, there's also 6 Bat Kings at the 4th to 5th sky of the Ascended Realm. Luckily, the cave is very big and these Bat Kings are scattered everywhere." Hearing this, Xiao Feng and the others were deeply frightened. This information was obtained by Bei Moi after entering the lair. Although Yang Gan had attracted the attention of some of the stronger bats, Bei Moi's strength could be seen. Overall, the strength of the bats was superior to the trial takers in both quantity and quality. Even someone as strong as Yang Gan had to run away when facing the human wave tactic. Those with lower strength might not even have the ability to protect themselves. We definitely can't fight them head-on. We have to work together to kill a few Bat Kings before the Bat Emperor appears. If everything went smoothly, he would be able to obtain some rare materials. If things don't go well, we'll fight our way out. In the worst-case scenario, we might have to go our separate ways and leave it to fate. Yang Gan finished his plan. There were only 3 plans. The first, in the most ideal situation, was to plunder some precious materials and seize opportunities. The second was to work together to carve out a path of blood and only hope to survive. The third was to fall into a desperate situation, where no one could help the other, and they would have to rely on their own strength. After Yang Gan explained his plan, he sighed inwardly. According to his analysis, the first possibility was less than 10%. The third possibility was the most likely. This was because there were many bats in the nest, and there were also many powerful Bat Kings. If they were to be careless, they might fall into a desperate situation. This plan isn't bad, but what are Brother Yang's chances of winning against the Bat Emperor? Xiao Feng asked. The Bat Emperor had reached the 6th sky of the Ascended Realm and was comparable to some deacons of the clan. The chances aren't high, but in the worst-case scenario, we should be able to fight for a while. Yang Gan gave an answer after some thought. Hearing this, Xiao Feng was slightly surprised Yang Gan's strength was stronger than he had expected. The group discussed for a while longer before they prepared to leave. Senior Brother Yang, you missed out on another possibility. Xiao Feng smiled faintly. What possibility? Yang Gan was surprised. He had already expected the worst outcome. Washing the bat's nest with blood. Xiao Feng's lips moved, pausing between each word as a message. A light flashed in Yang Gan's eyes as he revealed a trace of shock. He then shook his head and bitterly smiled. Junior Brother Zhao, don't joke around. Yang Gan then ignored Xiao Feng and led the group into the bat's nest. The weakest of the 7 had the battle power of the 3rd sky of the Ascended Realm, and most of them were even at the 4th sky of the Ascended Realm. Therefore, when everyone joined forces to kill their way into the nest, the scattered bats were defeated and easily killed. Everyone maintain our speed. If we meet the Bat King, we'll kill it together. Yang Gan ordered. The group soon met a group of close to 100 bats, and one of them was a Bat King whose cultivation was close to the 5th sky of the Ascended Realm. Flipping Cloud Palm! Yang Gan waved his palm, and a massive palm energy slammed into the sea of clouds, instantly killing 5 or 6 bats. The moment they clashed, the Bat King was injured by Yang Gan. Xiao Feng's expression changed. His senior brother's strength was more terrifying than he had imagined. No wonder he was ranked 2nd amongst the core disciples and could even fight for the head disciple. So, a dark green lightning-like sword shadow drew a strange arc in the air and stabbed into the Bat King's throat. Plop! The Bat King's giant body fell to the ground. Yang Gan was slightly surprised, and he looked at Xiao Feng with surprise in his eyes. The Luoho bow in Zhao Feng's hand was extremely powerful, and it could even threaten cultivators at the fourth sky of the Ascended Realm. After the Bat King was killed, the remaining bats scattered in fear and half of them were either injured or dead. Brother Zhao, your archery skills are very strong. Help me kill the Bat King. I'll give you a portion of the resources in the nest. Yang Gan smiled and said. Sure. Zhao Feng nodded his head. His goal wasn't just to collect some resources. The group continued to advance, and before long, another Bat King appeared. It led a swarm of 100 to 200 bats, some of which had escaped earlier. This Bat King had reached the fifth sky of the Ascended Realm, and Yang Gan had the upper hand, but he couldn't kill it. Northern Dark Heavenly Water Heavy Waves Slash! Baimois roared as his figure turned into a few blurs that gathered above the Bat King. A thick ripple of energy slashed onto the Bat King's body like a 10,000-kilogram blade. Boom! The Bat King was smashed onto the ground by Baimois and Yang Gan's sneak attack. Everyone's heart jumped. They didn't expect Baimois to be so strong. Zhao Feng analyzed in his heart. Baimois' Northern Dark Heavenly Water wasn't any weaker than his Lightning Wind Palm, and it might even be of a higher level. The group then teamed up to finish off the Bat King. Very successful. We've finished off 2 of the 6 Bat Kings so quickly. As long as we finish off 2 more, everything will be easy. Yang Gan smiled. Wait. Zhao Feng's expression suddenly changed. These bats aren't running away. In the next moment, there was a soul-shaking cry that shook the mountain walls. Accompanied by fierce gales, a giant bat emperor with a wingspan of 40 to 50 feet flew out from the depths of the nest. Instantly, the nearby bats trembled and their morale rose. Not good! The Bat Emperor's been alerted so quickly. Yang Gan took a deep breath and jumped into the air. He pulled out an ancient golden long blade and slashed downwards. A golden blade light that was tens of yards long slashed through the air like a cloud exploding, killing tens of bats and engulfing the Bat Emperor. The ancient golden long blade in Yang Gan's hand was also a middle-grade mortal weapon, and it could threaten those at the sixth sky of the Ascended Realm. So the Bat Emperor let out a deafening screech and rushed out from the explosion of the saber aura. It did not suffer any substantial damage. So, under the screeching of the Bat Emperor, hundreds of bats gathered from all directions. In addition, 4 Bat Kings rushed over and surrounded them. They were surrounded. Everyone's expression changed dramatically. The situation that Yang Gan had expected had finally appeared. The situation was even more terrifying than they had imagined. There were hundreds of bats everywhere, which meant that they had the strength of hundreds at the early stages of the Ascended Realm. Apart from Yang Gan, everyone else couldn't even move an inch as the sound wave enveloped the entire area. The invisible sound wave contained a mental energy attack that affected their consciousness. Zhuzhe, there's so many of these bats. A smile appeared on Zhao Feng's face. Quan Qin and company who were fighting couldn't help but glare at him in anger. How could he still smile in this situation? Bo, Zhao Feng opened his mouth and spat out a wave of mental energy sound that shot out. Boom! 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 A large number of bats fell from the sky. In an instant, 20 to 30 bats fell from the sky. An empty space appeared in front of Zhao Feng. The weird thing was that the mental energy sound wave he sent out was only effective against the bats. Not only did it not harm the people nearby, it even seemed to be able to cancel out a portion of the bat's mental energy attack. Bo! 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 Zhao Feng opened his mouth and a large number of bats fell from the sky. Some of them ran away in fear. The crowd was shocked by the scene. Zhao Feng's mental energy sound wave seemed to be able to counter these bats. Even the Bat King's speed slowed down when it got close to Zhao Feng and fear appeared on its face. In reality, Zhao Feng's mental energy sound wave was based on the structure of the bats and at a certain frequency, it could deal the most damage to the bats. There was a huge difference between a human and a bat's structure, especially in terms of hearing. Therefore, the cultivators present didn't feel any effect. So Zhao Feng pulled the Luoho bow and a dark azure arrow flashed like lightning, piercing through a Bat King at the fourth sky of the ascended realm. The nearby people had their mouths agape. It seemed like Zhao Feng was a bat killer. Both his mental energy sound wave and archery skills completely countered these bats. Good job, Brother Zhao! Yang Gan, who was fighting against the Bat Emperor, was overjoyed. Bo! 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 Zhao Feng kept on using his mental energy sound wave, and the invisible power was like waves that swept in all directions, killing batches after batches of bats. In the dimension of his left eye, the azure abyss spun faster and faster, providing Zhao Feng with a large source of mental energy. In just a short span of tens of breaths, Zhao Feng had killed around 200 bats. The bats that were scared away didn't react even when the Bat King summoned them. Everyone looked at Zhao Feng with fear in their eyes. Even the remaining 3 Bat Kings looked warily at Zhao Feng, not daring to come close. Everyone cover me! We're going to wash the Bat Cave with blood! Zhao Feng's voice was filled with killing intent, which made the nearby people's hearts go cold, but they were also filled with battle intent.